Chapter 4765. The fiery red dress, in mid-air, swept away a ray of sunset glow. Perfectly landed, standing in one of the winding corridors of the lake. Just as she stood firm, both her legs were hugged by something. She heard a crisp child's voice coming from below, "Fairy sister. Fairy sister." Yi-Ching Luo was startled at first, her eyes filled with vigilance. After hearing this voice, her brows overflowed with some astonishment. As soon as she looked down, she saw a jade-carved little guy who was hugging her legs tightly. The little one was really very small. He looked like he was only 5 or 6 years old. Not even as high as her legs. The little one, when hugging her, looking up at her, was extremely adorable. But, where did this little thing come from? She had just confirmed that there was no one around. And, this little child, how could she leave him by the lake? What if he fell into the water? "Fairy sister, why don't you speak?" The little one tilted his little head, his voice crisp and clear. Yi-Ching Luo coughed lightly, "Let go of me first." "Not letting go." The little one shook his head seriously, "If Cici let go of Fairy sister will run away." Yi-Ching Luo rubbed his little head. It was furry and soft. Towards children, she didn't hate them, but neither did she like them. After all, such a soft, delicate little one. It seemed that a little force might make him cry. But this little one in front of her made her inexplicably soften all her emotions. She pulled the little one's hand. "I won't run away." Zun, really? The little one pursed his little lips, looking at her suspiciously. Yi-Ching Luo revealed a smile. "Cici looks so cute, how can I bear to lie to you?" The little one's hands that were hugging her legs slowly loosened. But his fingers were still clutching the hem of her skirt. The restraint on both legs was loosened. Yi-Ching Luo half squatted down, facing the little one. She placed both hands on the little one's shoulders. "See, I didn't lie to you, right? Elder sister fairy, you're so pretty. You're even prettier than those sisters in my grandfather's family." The little guy blinked his eyes, and stared at her face without blinking. Yi-Ching Luo smiled as she rubbed his head. "Thank you Cici for your compliment. Cici looks very good too." Because Cici and Fairy sister look alike. Tiny One pointed at his own face and pointed at Yi-Ching Luo. "We both look good." Yi-Ching Luo burst out laughing. This little guy was actually saying in a roundabout way that he was good-looking. She picked him up and looked around. "Why are you here alone? Don't you have an adult with you?" The little guy hooked his little hands around her neck and shook his head with a sad expression. "Cici doesn't have a mother." "No mother. A single-parent child." She had just heard him mention grandpa. Could it be that he had lived with his grandfather since he was young? Yi-Ching Luo gave birth to a sliver of tenderness towards this little one as her voice became much gentler. "Then, where is Cici's maternal grandfather? Elder sister will bring you to find him, okay?" The little one drooped his head and shook it. "Cici doesn't like grandpa. Grandpa always forces Cici to do things that Cici doesn't like to do, so Cici sneaked out today." Poor little guy. He had no parents since he was young, and lived together with his strict and rigid maternal grandfather. For a child, it was indeed unbearable. The little one suddenly raised his little head, blinking his bright eyes, full of hope. "You are elder sister fairy, can you bring me to find my mother?" Chapter 4766. Yi-Ching Luo was stunned, looking at the little one's hopeful eyes. Her throat was suddenly blocked. She couldn't bear to let this little one down. She smiled and asked softly, "Cici, do you know where your mother is?" The little one's head drooped down again. "I don't know." Yi-Ching Luo rubbed her little head and comforted, "Cici, why don't you take me to your grandfather first? I'll ask him where your mother is, okay?" The little one pursed his lips, his face was full of unwillingness. Grandfather won't say. Whenever Cece mentions mother, grandfather will be very angry and force Cece to do things Cece doesn't want to do. Cece doesn't like grandfather. The little one's tone was full of grievance, his little hand clutched Yiqing Luo's clothes. Fairy sister, don't send me to grandfather, okay? As he spoke, the little one's eyes turned red, looking like he was about to cry. Yiqing Luo quickly coaxed, okay, I won't send you. What kind of little ancestor did she have? Just when she was holding the little one, she was at a loss. Suddenly, a panicked voice came from behind him. "Io, my young master, why did you come here alone?" Following that, a few hurried footsteps could be heard, and they were rushing over. Yiqing Luo turned around and saw an old woman in her 50s, her face full of anxiety. Yiqing Luo could tell at a glance that the old woman's clothes were all made of good quality fabric. It could be seen that this old woman's status was not low. When the old woman came closer and saw Yiqing Luo, her face suddenly changed. Who are you?" She ran over hurriedly and saw the little master being carried by a young girl. She thought it was one of the family's maids. But this face, she had no impression at all. The old woman immediately became vigilant and reached out to hold the little one. But the little one hugged Yiqing Luo's neck tightly and refused to let go. "Granny Feng, this is Cece's fairy sister, the fairy sister who wants to take Cece to mother." The little one put his head on Yiqing Luo's shoulder and refused to be hugged by the old woman. The old lady stared vigilantly at Yiqing Luo and then looked at the young master who was leaning on the young lady. Her heart was burning with anxiety. But he was afraid of alerting the enemy and hurting his own young master, so he could only look at Yiqing Luo cautiously. "Miss, who are you? Why are you at the Feng mansion?" The security of the Phoenix mansion was so tight that even a fly couldn't fly in. "This girl, how did he get in?" "Feng Manor. Isn't this the 100-flower garden? How did it become a Phoenix mansion?" Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with doubts, but she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she sent the little guy in her arms to the old woman. "In the future, don't let a child run to this kind of place. It's very easy to fall into the water." The old lady trembled as she stretched out her hand to receive Tiny Tot, as she stared at Yiqing Luo with vigilance and cautiousness. Miss. Then you. No. I don't want that." Just as the old woman was about to hug the little guy, Xiao Budian suddenly resisted violently. He flailed his limbs about. "I don't want to go back with you. I want fairy sister. The little guy was very emotional. Tears welled up in his red eyes. He cried and howled as he struggled. He accidentally kicked the old woman's body. The old woman originally listened to the little master's agitated emotions and wholeheartedly threw herself onto the little master. This kick came down. She couldn't stand properly. Her body staggered and fell into the lake at the side. Chapter 4767. Be careful. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and pulled the old lady. The little one in her arms was still kicking her legs agitatedly, totally unaware of the trouble she had caused. Yiqing Luo stabilized the old lady, but the momentum made her body unstable as she fell towards the other side of the lake. "Little master." The old lady rushed forward in shock, but it was too late. Yiqing Luo fell into the lake along with the little one. Water splashed everywhere. The moment Yiqing Luo fell into the water, she quickly lifted the little one up. The little one didn't look big, but he was quite heavy. Yiqing Luo was somewhat strained. She managed to climb to the side of the lake and sent the little one ashore. The old lady immediately hugged the little one. "Little master, are you all right? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Let Granny take a look." The little one was well protected by Yiqing Luo. Other than his clothes being wet, there was no other discomfort. The old lady then felt relieved and hugged the little one tightly. The little one broke away from the old lady and looked at Yi-Ching Luo with a face full of worry. "Fairy sister, are you all right?" The old lady then turned her attention to Yi-Ching Luo. She saw a disheveled Yi-Ching Luo standing on the shore, twisting her wet robe. Although she was vigilant, but after all she was the one who saved the little master. She said softly, "Young lady, do you want to follow the little master back to his room and change his clothes?" Look at the little master's attitude towards this lady. She was afraid that the young lady wouldn't follow. The little master wouldn't obediently change into clean clothes. Moreover, this lady's background was unknown. It would be safer to keep her by her side and let someone check her identity. Yi-Ching Luo naturally saw through the old lady's plan. She was just about to refuse. But her sleeve was held tightly by the little one. He had a "if you don't follow me, I won't change my clothes" attitude. Yi-Ching Luo's heart softened and sighed softly, "Then I'll have to trouble Granny." Forget it. She didn't have time to bring other clothes to the god realm. Even if she returned to the 100-flower gardens. He was also soaking wet. She might as well follow them to change her clothes. He would wait for an opportunity to slip away. In any case, there seemed to be only this old woman and this little guy in this mansion. The old woman wanted to hug the little guy. However, Xiao Budian kicked his little legs and jumped to the ground. Then he grabbed one of Yi-Ching Luo's fingers and walked beside her. The old lady apologized in a low voice. Yi-Ching Luo shook her head as she lowered her eyes to look at the little one beside her, feeling an inexplicable warmth in her heart. An adult and a child held hands as they walked forward. Water droplets fell from their bodies. On the porcelain tiles that were laid out, it was like a blossoming splash. Not far away, behind the rockery, a few black figures slowly walked out from the darkness, staring at the direction where Yi-Ching Luo left. The black-clothed man at the very front said in a low voice, "Proceed according to the original plan." Yes. The old woman brought her to the little guy's room. First, he helped Tiny Tot change his wet clothes. He then went to the other rooms to search for suitable clothes for Yi-Ching Luo. Fortunately, the weather was hot. Yi-Ching Luo didn't feel cold at all. After a while, the old woman walked over with a set of clothes. "The southern hall of the Phoenix Manor hasn't had any lady staying in for many years. This is Little Master." She looked at the smiling Xiao Budian. She stopped what she was about to say and changed her words. "These are clothes left behind by my previous master. I hope Miss doesn't mind." Chapter 4768. The clothes in the old lady's hands looked very new. It was a bright red, like a blooming rose. The exquisite embroidery made the flowers look lifelike. It looked graceful and luxurious. Ordinary people couldn't control this kind of beauty at all. Yi-Ching Luo took the clothes. The touch was very light and soft. The fabric was made of high-quality silk. When Yi-Ching Luo changed into this red dress, even the old lady couldn't help but reveal a stunned look. She knew that this young lady was beautiful. But she didn't expect that after changing into this luxurious dress with complicated embroidery, the whole person seemed to be even more outstanding. The luxurious long dress couldn't suppress the young lady's bright and dazzling beauty. Especially that pair of long and narrow charming eyes, under this luxurious red dress, seemed to be rippling with flowing lights. "Fairy sister. You look so good." The little guy suddenly pounced forward and hugged Yi-Ching Luo's leg. He raised his head and stared at her unblinkingly with his delicate, jade-like face. His eyes were filled with sincerity and love for her. Yi-Ching Luo bent over and gently rubbed the little guy's head. "Next time by the lake, don't fool around, do you hear me?" "I hear you." The little guy nodded obediently. Yi-Ching Luo rubbed again. "Good boy." The smile on the young lady's face was very bright and gentle. Even the contours of the face were extremely soft and charming. The old lady kept staring at Yi Qing Luo, trying to see through her purpose. But on the young lady. The old lady couldn't feel any malicious intent at all. Yi Qing Luo knew that the old lady was suspicious of her identity. She patted the little guy's head lightly. "Cici, sister is a little hungry." The little guy immediately turned his head to the old lady. The old lady hesitated for a moment. Then she heard the young lady said with a smile, "Sister wants to eat Cici's things, can Cici share with sister?" The little guy's eyes lit up immediately. "Fairy sister, wait here for Cici, Cici will be here soon." Saying that, he kicked his little legs and ran outside. The old lady whispered behind him, "Be careful, don't run on the long corridor." Until the little guy's figure went into the next room. The old woman returned to the inner hall. On his face, it was no longer the benevolence and gentleness he had when facing Xiao Budian, but vigilance and coldness. "Who exactly are you? Why did he appear in the Feng manner? What's the purpose of getting close to the young master?" "My name is Yi Qing Luo and I stay at the 100 Flower Gardens." Yi Qing Luo didn't hide anything. However, as for how she had passed through the secret passage of the 100 Flower Garden and arrived at this so-called Feng manor, naturally, she couldn't say it out loud. He blinked his eyes innocently and shook his head innocently. "To be honest, I'm not too sure why I'm here either. It's just that when I opened my eyes, I was already beside the lake. Coincidentally, I was hugged by Cici." This explanation was obviously very far-fetched. How could he have arrived at the Feng mansion just by opening his eyes? However, looking at the innocent expression on the girl's face, he swallowed the question that was on the tip of his tongue. Yi Qing Luo, why do I feel that this name is so familiar? Wait a minute, 100 Garden. You are, the Flower King's, new pet. The old woman was confused. Staring at Yi Qing Luo, there were some traces of pity in his eyes. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. "No, I'm just staying at the 100 Flower Gardens temporarily. The girls who stay at the 100 Flower Gardens are all the Flower King's women, especially a beautiful girl like you." The old woman obviously didn't believe it. Chapter 4769. As far as Ji Wuhua was concerned. Wild Sand Literature Network, such a beautiful lady. How could he let it go? Since she lived in the 100 Flower Garden, how could she not be Flower King's woman? Wait, that's not the point. The old lady looked serious. The 100 Flower Garden is in the south of the city and the north of the city. They are quite far away from each other. Moreover, the Phoenix residence is heavily guarded. How did you open your eyes and appear in the Phoenix residence? I also want to ask you the same question. Yi Qing Luo looked helpless. I wouldn't be surprised if I knew. She sighed and said, Cici was the first to discover me. You can ask Cici if I appeared in the Phoenix Manor out of thin air. Otherwise, why would Cici suddenly call me fairy sister? The old lady looked serious. She pondered for a moment and said, no matter if what you said is true or not, I can only ask you to stay in the Phoenix residence and wait for Flower King to pick you up. Yi Qing Luo. Was this illegal imprisonment? And she had to ask Ji Wuhua, that peacock, to redeem her. That secret passage was obviously Ji Wuhua's doing. Ji Wuhua came. Didn't he know that she had found out about the secret passage? This was her first day in the God realm. Did she have to make such a big fuss? However, looking at the old woman's face, although there was nothing special about her, her eyes were filled with a cold and sharp light. She paused and said, Thank you, Granny. She believed. If she refused, this old woman would definitely use a very rude method to forcefully detain her in the Feng manner. Now she agreed. At least she could be treated politely. and she could still move freely. But she had to think of a way to get back to the 100-flower garden before Ji Wuwa came. Thump. Suddenly, there was a slight noise from the next room. Something hit the ground. The old lady's expression changed and called out anxiously, "Young master." He hurriedly walked toward the room next door. When she left the room, she didn't forget to lock the door. Yi Qing Luo. Did she really treat her as a prisoner? Couldn't she follow her to check on Tiny? Why did she have to be locked up? However, the old woman had already hurried to the next room. He was worried about the little guy's safety. She gave up and did not ask the old woman to open the door. He casually pulled a chair and sat down in front of the round mahogany table. She poured herself a cup of tea and waited quietly for the old woman. About the time it took to burn a stick of incense, Yi Qing Luo heard a squeaking sound, the sound of the room door being opened. "Is Cece all right?" "Granny Feng, I heard that Cece fell into the water." "What happened?" Two voices sounded at the same time. The sounds overlapped. It was a young girl with a clear and melodious voice. It was a rough and dignified male voice, which was obviously the demeanor of a superior. Both sides were startled. When Yi Qing Luo turned back, what entered her eyes was a dignified and handsome face. He was dressed in a navy blue brocade robe with complicated patterns, looking noble and dignified. He looked to be in his 50s. His temples were white, but he was hale and spirited. That pair of black and burning eyes flashed with an elite sharpness. That straight and handsome face. Inexplicably, there was an extreme sense of familiarity. But the other party was staring at Yi Qing Luo's face without blinking. The old man's face was filled with disbelief, shock, and astonishment. In the end, even his body started to tremble slightly. It's you," the old man spoke in a trembling voice. Tears welled up in his eyes as he took slightly trembling steps towards Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 4770. Feng Gu. It's you. It's you, you're back. The elderly's hands held Yi Qing Luo's hands. He used a lot of strength. Yi Qing Luo wanted to struggle, but felt the trembling of the elderly's hands, and the heat in his palms. She couldn't bear to do this. Especially when she saw the elderly's old tears, calling out Feng Gu word by word. Yi Qing Luo's heart seemed to be stabbed by something, fiercely. She allowed the elderly to grab her. The elderly's old tears flowed as he muttered to himself. The large palms which held Yi Qing Luo's hands trembled even more. Just at this moment, hurried footsteps were heard from outside the door. The old lady's slightly bewildered voice rang from outside the door. "Miss, what did you say your name earlier?" "I remember, where did I hear your name?" When the old lady stepped into the room, and saw the scene in the room, the expression on her face congealed instantly. Following that, she bowed respectfully, "Patriarch." The old lady's voice when she barged in earlier was very loud. It made the elderly who was in tears suddenly awakened. He stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo, as his eyes seemed to be surging with some emotions. "You." The elderly who had calmed down, slowly let go of Yi Qing Luo's hands. "No. You're not Feng Gu, you're not my Xiao Gu." Feng Gu was already dead. Long dead. "Ma, Patriarch, why are you here?" The old lady's tone was slightly apprehensive. The elderly slowly wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. "Granny Feng, what's going on?" "She. Where did she come from?" Although the elderly's words were directed at the old lady, but his eyes were still fixated on Yi Qing Luo without blinking. As though afraid that she would shift her gaze. As though she would disappear. That gaze made Yi Qing Luo's heart ache. "Patriarch." The old lady took a look at the elderly, and lowered her head uncertainly. I'm not too sure. She told him how she saw Yi Qing Luo, in a concise and comprehensive manner. Following that, she asked hesitantly, Patriarch, you know. This lady. This was the first time she saw the patriarch losing his composure like that. And thinking back to her own guess, the expression on the old lady's face became even more solemn. What did you say her name was just now? The old man finally shifted his gaze and looked at the old woman. The old lady took a look at Yi Qing Luo and immediately suppressed the various thoughts in her heart as she said word by word, replying to Patriarch, this young lady's name is Yi Qing Luo. This old servant had once heard this name from Patriarch's mouth. Qing Luo. The old man's body stiffened again. The redness in her eyes, which she had just suppressed, immediately turned sour again. His trembling hand, bit by bit, moved towards Yi Qing Luo's cheek. That wrinkled face was filled with disbelief. You're called Qing Luo? Are you really called Qing Luo? When the elderly man's hand almost touched Yi Qing Luo's face, the girl's fair hand gently grasped the old man's wrist. She looked up and met the old man's inquisitive and shocked gaze. She frowned slightly and said, What is your relationship with Feng Gu? Yi Qing Luo knew that she looked similar to her mother whom she had never met before. As for the old man in front of them, at first glance, he had mistaken her for Feng Gu. Furthermore, the fluctuation of his emotions was a little strange. Apparently, his relationship with Feng Gu was very good. Yi Qing Luo had some guesses in her heart. I am Feng Ji's father. The old man said word by word as he stared at Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 47-71. The elderly looked at her face, as though he was looking at the most precious thing in the world. His heart was trembling violently. This face. This name. Whether it was real or fake, it was enough. In his heart, a huge wave was set off. Yi Qing Luo listened to the elderly's words. The expression on her face congealed. Feng Ji's father. That meant her maternal grandfather. Wait a minute. Her mother was someone from thousands of years ago. Then, how old was her mother's father? This leap was a little too big. She was a little dazed now. This was a little illogical. The elderly stared at Yi Qing Luo's face. You and Xiao Gu really look too alike. Too alike. An 80% similar appearance to Feng Gu. Wearing Feng Ji's clothes. That bright and disdainful look was exactly the same as the style in her memory. If it wasn't for that pair of eyes. Compared to Feng Gu, who had been standing on the throne for many years, there was an obvious difference. The elderly really wanted to treat this young lady in front of him as his own daughter. Qing Luo. You are Qing Luo, right? The elderly's voice trembled as he probed with some hope. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips and nodded slowly. Yes, I am Yi Qing Luo. She paused and asked again, you know me? Xiao Ji's daughter. As her father, how could I not know? The elderly stretched out his hand and held Yi Qing Luo's hand once again. Patriarch. The old lady's expression congealed. She took a look at Yi Qing Luo and looked at the elderly and lowered her voice. Patriarch, this young lady appeared out of thin air. Similar looks. And coincidentally, her name was Qing Luo. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? If this was just a trap. A trap to destroy the Feng residence. To old Patriarch, what kind of blow was this? This young lady's identity must be thoroughly investigated. However, the elderly didn't care as both his hands held Yi Qing Luo's hand tightly. even if it's fake. To let me see Xiao Gu again, or to imagine countless times. To see Xiao Ji's daughter. I am willing. The elderly's voice was choked with sobs. That was the elderly's longing for his loved ones. Yiqing Luo's eyes were slightly red and her nose felt a little sour as she held on to the elderly man's wrinkled hand. She could feel it. The old man truly missed Feng Gu. Fairy sister, this is Cece's favorite cherry blossom cake. The little guy strode with his short legs and trotted in with thumping thumps. She was also holding a plate of desserts in her hands. After rushing into the room, when he saw that dignified and tall figure, his smile immediately froze on his face. Ji grandfather, Xiao Budian seemed to be frightened, and suddenly stood up straight. The small plate in his hand was trembling slightly. Young master. The old woman, Granny Feng, pulled Tiny Tot to her and stroked his head to comfort him. The old man turned his head and looked at the pale-faced Tiny Tot who was hiding beside Granny Feng's leg. He waved at him. The little guy was a bit scared, but he still bit his lower lip and moved to the elder's side with small steps. The elderly man pulled Tiny Tot over and hugged him in his arms, then made him face Yiqing Luo. Do you know her? Tiny Tot looked at Yiqing Luo, a frightened expression appeared on his face. Grandfather, I won't dare to play any more in the future. Grandfather, don't punish fairy sister, okay? Grandfather didn't punish her. The old man patted Tiny Tot's head lightly. You like her a lot. Tiny Tot immediately shook his head. No. Cece doesn't like her. Grandfather, let her go, okay? Chapter 47-72. Xiao Ji's daughter, as her father, how could I not know? The old man stretched out his hand and held Yiqing Luo's hand once again. Patriarch. The old woman's expression was tense. She looked at Yiqing Luo and the old man and lowered her voice. Patriarch, this lady appeared out of thin air, similar appearance. And her name was also Qing Luo. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? If this was just a trap. A trap to destroy the Feng residence, what kind of blow would this be to the old patriarch? This girl's identity must be thoroughly investigated. However, the old man didn't care, both hands held Yiqing Luo's hand tightly, even if it's fake, to let me see Xiao Gu again, or to imagine countless times, to see Xiao Ji's daughter. I am willing. The old man's voice was choked with emotion. That was the old man's longing for his loved ones. Yiqing Luo's eyes were slightly red, her nose was a little sour as she held the old man's wrinkled hand. She could feel it. The old man really missed Feng Gu. Elder sister fairy, this is Cece's favorite cherry blossom cake. The little guy strode with his short legs and trotted in with thumping thumps. He was holding a plate of snacks in his hand. After rushing into the room, seeing that majestic figure, the smile on his face immediately froze. Grandpa. Grandpa, the little guy seemed to be frightened and suddenly stood up straight. The small plate in his hand was trembling slightly. Young master. The old woman Granny Feng pulled the little guy towards her and stroked his head comfortingly. The old man turned his head and looked at the little guy who was hiding beside Granny Feng's leg with a slightly pale face and waved at him. The little guy was a little scared, but he still bit his lower lip and moved to the old man's side in small steps. The old man pulled the little guy and hugged him in his arms, then turned him to face Yiqing Luo. Do you know her? The little guy looked at Yiqing Luo, a frightened expression appeared on his face. Grandpa, I dare not to play anymore. Grandpa, don't punish fairy sister. Grandpa didn't punish her. The old man patted the little guy's head lightly. Do you like her very much? Xiao Budian immediately shook his head. No. Cece doesn't like her. Grandpa, can you let her go? The elder's large palm covered the little guy's head, and helplessly shook his head. Soon after, he raised his head and stared deeply at the young girl in front of him with slightly red eyes. I can see that. Cece really likes you. He sighed softly. This child has never let me touch his head like this. In order to make him let go of this girl in front of him. His Cece was clearly afraid of his approach, but she allowed him to do whatever he wanted. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips slightly as she stretched out both her hands towards Tiny Tot, bringing him into her embrace. She lightly hooked her lips and extended her hand towards Xiao Budian. The little guy hesitated and didn't dare to move. His black and white eyes were clearly distinguishable, and he was even trying to signal her with his eyes. Yiqing Luo was overwhelmed by his cuteness. She took the initiative to walk over and pulled Xiao Budian into her embrace from the old man's hands. Grandfather treats me very well and didn't punish me. Yiqing Luo poked his little head. What on earth are you thinking in that little head of yours? Tiny Tot's eyes immediately brightened up. Really? You don't believe sister? Yiqing Luo pretended to be displeased and straightened her face. Tiny Tot shook his head like a rattle drum. I believe sister. Chapter 47-73. The old man's finger touched the girl's forehead. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the old man's fingers trembling slightly. The rough touch caressed her skin. After confirming that the cherry blossom totem wasn't a fake, Lin Yun immediately turned around. The old man's hand trembled even more violently. Yiqing Luo put him down, stretched out her hand and held the old man's palm. According to the current situation, I indeed should call you grandfather. Her pink lips curled up slightly, and her charming eyes were filled with sincerity. I don't need to doubt your identities, and she paused. How do you want to investigate? I'll cooperate. There was no guilt or other emotions on the girl's face. He was just so frank and honest. The old man held the young girl's soft hand and said in a choked voice, Okay. Grandpa believes you. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with gentleness. She had indeed thought of going to the God realm to search for her origins. But he had never thought that he would still have relatives other than his mother who still existed in this world. He had never thought that he would appear in front of his grandfather in such a way. Tiny Tot's name was Feng Shi, and he was the only young master of the Feng Mansion. The old man was the master of the Phoenix Mansion. Yiqing Luo understood. The profound practitioners of the God realm were completely capable of maintaining their appearance and form. Even if Feng family master wanted to meet people as a teenager, there was no problem at all. However, Feng clan master felt that he had lived for so long and had another grandson. He had to act like a grandfather. He learned from the words of Master Feng. Master Feng had indeed lived for thousands of years. He had also been the head of the Phoenix Mansion for thousands of years. She wholeheartedly stayed in Feng Manor, guarding the home that her daughter cared about the most. She accompanied Master Feng until the evening. Granny Feng came to call for dinner. Feng family's patriarch then pulled Yiqing Luo's hand and left the room. Granny Feng took a few glances at Yiqing Luo but due to Patriarch Feng's elated mood. In the end, he didn't say anything. Yiqing Luo was very clear that her sudden appearance was in this kind of identity. If it had been anyone else, they would not have been able to believe her identity so quickly. After all, the Phoenix Mansion wasn't an ordinary family. One wrong step, and what awaited them would be many more wrong steps. However, Patriarch Feng didn't seem to care at all. His eyes were full of kindness and kindness of an elder. Yiqing Luo followed behind Patriarch Feng, looking at the old man's gray hair and tightly pursed pink lips. She asked softly, aren't you afraid that I'm just lying to you? It seemed like, ever since she appeared, Feng clan master didn't seem to doubt her at all. Especially after she revealed the cherry blossom totem on her forehead. Even more so. The old man's body stiffened. But soon, he continued to walk forward. The aged voice didn't conceal its gentleness. The moment I saw you, I knew that you were little Ji's daughter. Your eyes can't lie. I believe you. 3 simple words. I believe you. This made Yiqing Luo's eyes slightly warm. With a chuckle, she quickened her steps and held on to the old man's arm. Although grandfather trusts me unconditionally, in order to be more justifiable, I can accept any method of verification. There's no rush. The old man patted the back of her hand. We'll talk about it when your uncle comes back. Little uncle. She still had a little uncle. Yiqing Luo felt that this trip to God Realm was really fated. She recognized one after another. Chapter 47-74. After having a meal with the old man, she chatted with him for a while. Until Yiqing Luo agreed more than 10 times to stay in the Feng residence. The old man then went to rest contentedly. Yiqing Luo played with little Feng Shi for a while. The sky was getting dark. Granny Feng left with Feng Shi. The room that Patriarch Feng prepared for her was the room that Feng Gu used to stay in. The room was very clean and everything was new. She could tell that it had been cleaned and taken good care of for a long time. Yiqing Luo looked at the furnishings in the room one by one. She could imagine what kind of person her mother was. When she was lying on her mother's bed, Yiqing Luo could vaguely smell a faint fragrance. Was this her mother's smell? She smelled the faint fragrance. Yiqing Luo gradually felt sleepy. In a daze, she seemed to dream of a woman. A woman in a gorgeous red dress. The woman's back was facing her. She turned her head slightly. Illusory, the white fog blurred everything in front of her. She couldn't see the woman's face clearly. She could only vaguely hear a gentle murmur, calling her name over and over again. Qing Luo, Qing Luo. That voice made Yiqing Luo's heart tightly clenched together. She wanted to open her mouth to respond. But her throat seemed to be blocked by something. She couldn't say a word. Suddenly, she opened her eyes abruptly and sat up on the bed. It was pitch black in the room. Only the light silver moonlight shone in from the open window. Yiqing Luo was gasping for air. In his mind, the image of the indistinct figure in his dream floated up. Her fair little hand slowly lifted up and pressed on her heart. That woman whose face couldn't be seen clearly. It was her mother, right? It was her mother. Calling her name, right? If it wasn't her mother, why did those calls cause her heart to throb in pain? In the darkness, the young lady slowly closed her eyes, to let her emotions calm down slightly. Staying in the room that her mother used to stay in. Then she dreamt of her mother. Actually, it was better to think about her. Thinking about that. Even if she had never met her mother, they were blood-related. Yiqing Luo was closing her eyes to calm down. Suddenly, his ears twitched. She opened her eyes. A pair of long and narrow eyes flickered with a cold light in the darkness. Someone was there. She quietly slid down from the bed and approached the open window. From this angle, he could see the surroundings of the courtyard. The courtyard was quiet. The silver moonlight shone coldly. There was no one around. Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed slightly as she felt a little strange. She had clearly sensed that there was someone outside the door. How could this be? Wait a minute. Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly changed as she reacted. In the blink of an eye, he turned his head in alarm. However, a cold and gloomy aura came from behind. She could only see 2 people in black robes flashing past her eyes. In the next instant, she lost consciousness. Bang! There was a deafening knock on the door. The tall man rushed into the room and searched everywhere. Such a commotion shocked everyone else in the Phoenix Manor awake. Granny Fong was the first to arrive. Behind her were numerous Phoenix Manor guards. When she saw the room that Yi Qing Luo was staying in temporarily, the door had collapsed to the ground. A tall figure stood in the darkness, emitting a gloomy aura. Granny Fong was stunned. You. Who are you? The guards surrounded the room, full of vigilance. Chapter 4775. From this angle, she could see the environment in the courtyard. It was quiet in the courtyard. The silver moonlight shone down coldly. There was no one. Yi Qing Luo's eyes congealed slightly, feeling a little strange. She clearly sensed that there was someone outside the door. How could it be? Wait a minute. Yi Qing Luo's expression suddenly changed as she reacted. Almost instantaneously, she turned her head around alertly. But a gloomy and cold aura came from behind her. She only saw two men dressed in black robes flashing past her eyes. The next moment, she lost consciousness. Bam! A deafening sound of the door being knocked was heard. A tall man rushed into the room and searched around. Such a commotion shocked the rest of the people in the Phoenix Manor. Granny Fong was the first to rush over. Behind her were numerous Phoenix Manor guards. When she saw the room which Yi Qing Luo was staying in temporarily, the main door had collapsed onto the ground. A tall figure stood in the darkness, emitting a gloomy and ruthless aura. Granny Fong was stunned. You. Who are you? The guards surrounded the room. Their eyes were filled with vigilance. That man's expression was gloomy and cold, his eyes searched around and fixed on Granny Fong. Where is Qing Luo? Granny Fong asked, what are you doing in Miss Qing Luo's room? That man clenched his fists tightly as his tone became heavier. This god is asking you, where on earth is Qing Luo? That sinister tone and the majestic profound energy released from his body made Granny Feng's expression sunk. Why are you looking for Miss Qing Luo? A guard rushed over with a torch in his hand. The bright light of the fire shone down. Granny Fong clearly saw the man who was hiding in the darkness. That handsome face. She staggered backwards. Bone Lord. The man in front of her was the fiendish-looking blood-bone barbaric king. His expression was gloomy as his thin lips pursed tightly, his gaze was sinister and sharp. Where is Qing Luo? These 4 words had already exhausted all of his patience. The wind from his palm blew up and the ground exploded into a huge deep pit. Granny Fong naturally knew this person who used to follow Fong Gu around like a shadow. She was also clear about the relationship between Bone Lord and Fong Gu. But wasn't Bone Lord annihilated by Fong Gu thousands of years ago? Why would he appear here? The barbaric blood-bone king had already lost his patience. He strode into the house and rummaged around. But there was no sign of Yi Qing Luo in the house. At this moment, Granny Fong realized something and her expression changed. Miss Qing Luo is staying here, how could she? The Phoenix Manor was heavily guarded. Who was able to bring Miss Qing Luo away from the Fong residence without anyone knowing? Unless, Granny Fong recalled the scene when she first met Yi Qing Luo as she narrated it concisely, could Miss Qing Luo have used the same method to leave the Fong residence? Impossible. The barbaric blood-bone king's face was ferocious and the veins on his forehead were bulging. Since she promised old Master Fong that she would stay, she won't leave. Granny Fong was so scared that her face turned pale. Then Miss Qing Luo, because of your Fong family, she has been targeted. Blood-bone barbaric king said word by word, squeezing out from between his teeth. Granny Fong staggered. How could this be possible? I will go and inform the patriarch now. What happened? Just as she was speaking, Patriarch Feng walked over with a frown. Why is there such a loud noise? Granny Feng hurriedly walked over. Patriarch, Miss Qing Luo she is missing. Chapter 47-76. This was a dim and empty place. Only the top of her head was sprinkled with bits of light, barely lighting up the surrounding environment. This should be a secret room. The air was damp, and there was also the smell of decay mixed in. It didn't smell good. Yiqing Luo was just about to move. But she discovered that her 4 limbs were locked with a heavy iron chain. The moment she moved, the iron chain made a wolala sound. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and stared at the iron hoops on her hands and legs. 4 shining silver chains, not knowing where they were connected to. Yiqing Luo, what the heck? What kind of situation was this? Forget it if she was kidnapped. The other party actually tied her up like this. Couldn't they have some God realm style? Was there a need to do this to deal with someone from the lower realm? The iron hoops on her 4 limbs weren't considered heavy. And the chain was very long. She could drag the iron chain to stand up and walk 2 steps. It was just that this movement, the dragging sound, in this silent pitch-black darkness, was really too loud. Yiqing Luo felt that her eardrums were filled with the wolala sound. Her head was hurting. She was restrained by the iron chain again. She simply sat back down. Dragging the iron chain was tiring and noisy. Even if she found the exit, she couldn't run out. She might as well conserve her energy and wait for the person who kidnapped her to show himself and probe the other party's motive. But to be able to sneak into the Feng residence to kidnap someone, and successfully kidnap someone. Who could it be? Yiqing Luo didn't think for long. Only to hear a squeak sound. A few figures walked out from the entrance of the secret room. In the darkness, Yiqing Luo couldn't see clearly. But from the material and embroidery on their clothes, Yiqing Luo could tell that they were either rich or respectable. She's awake. A 30 to 40-year-old man's voice opened. This is the woman from the Feng residence. From the looks of it, other than that face, there doesn't seem to be anything special. Are you sure? You didn't catch the wrong person? Absolutely not. I saw with my own eyes that Patriarch Feng, that old fogey, asked about this woman's well-being, and couldn't wait to pamper her. The 4 of them were talking at the same time. Yiqing Luo's head started to swell. He roughly understood a little. The reason why she was kidnapped and brought here. It was related to the Phoenix Mansion. Especially, in a place like the Feng Manor, it was rare for young women to appear for many years. A beautiful girl suddenly appeared. Moreover, it could make the serious and old-fashioned Feng clan master treat her gently and have a close relationship with her, creating an atmosphere of joy and harmony. This was enough to show the importance of this young lady. So those who targeted the Feng family naturally placed their target on Yiqing Luo. The 4 of them came closer. Under the dim lighting, Yiqing Luo couldn't see their faces clearly. He could only vaguely see their silhouettes and the fair skin that was inadvertently exposed. There were 4 men. Little girl, what is the relationship between you and Patriarch Feng? Someone asked. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her squinted eyes revealed a sneer of ridicule. Haven't you all already filled in the blanks? Do you still need me to say? Yiqing Luo's attitude was indeed not considered as good. The 4 of them's expressions sunk as their breathing paused. One of them was infuriated. Little girl, this isn't the Feng residence. It was indeed the mysterious young lady who appeared at Patriarch Feng's side. Chapter 47-77. Yiqing Luo's expressions sunk as she stared at them. Who are you people? Young lady, this is the question we asked first. That man stared at Yiqing Luo as he asked again, what relationship do you have with the Feng family? If I said there's no relationship, would you believe me? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she asked. How could it not be related? That man walked up in big strides and pressed on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. You're the only young lady who can stay in the Feng manor. That person came closer. Under the dim lighting, Yiqing Luo could see the person in front of her clearly. It was a man in his 40s. He had a dignified expression on his face, and it was obvious that he was a person of high status and power. The aura emitted from his body gave people a strong sense of oppression. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as her heart was filled with some doubts. Since he was of such a high status, why would he do such a risky thing? Who cares what relationship she has with the Feng clan? Tell the Feng clan master that she is in our hands. Let him exchange what we want. Another middle-aged man said angrily. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. These people, bang. Did he want to use her to exchange for something from the Feng manor? Was there something wrong with these people? All of them are in high positions, and yet they want to bang. It was the first time he had seen her in the Feng manor, and he was going to exchange her for something from the Feng manor. The reason they were able to use this method at the end of the road was obviously because they were at their wits' end. How could she be sure that the Feng manor would compromise for her? I heard that the Feng mansion has already sent out all the hidden guards of the Feng mansion to search for her whereabouts. It seems that the Feng mansion really values this young girl. Suddenly, a middle-aged man came in from outside the door and said with a happy tone. Hearing this, a greedy smile appeared on their faces. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she used the light above her head to see everyone's expression clearly. He felt a little uneasy. The next day, the Feng manor declared a lockdown and searched everywhere. Everyone discussed animatedly. However, no one knew exactly why the Phoenix Mansion, which had been silent for many years, would make such a big move this time. However, after a whole morning, there was no news at all. Master Feng was so anxious that he couldn't eat or sleep. He had been longing for his granddaughter for a long time. They had only eaten one meal. So he lost her. He was such a failure as a grandfather. Feng Shi sat next to the master of the Feng family sullenly, and her delicate little face was full of worry. Her big eyes were red, and it was obvious that she had just cried. Granny Feng walked in and saw the old man and the young girl. She couldn't help but feel sorry for them. Yesterday, she was still thinking about it. It didn't matter if the girl was real or not. As long as he could make the old and young of the Feng manor happy. Even if it was fake, he had to treat the girl as real. However, he was only happy for a few hours. He was lost. Furthermore, she was kidnapped from the heavily guarded Feng manor. However, the Feng mansion was completely unaware of this. But now, they couldn't even find him. Granny Feng sighed and walked into the room. She said in a low voice, Master, young Master Chongqing and Master Flower King are here. Feng clan master's body stiffened. The face that seemed to have aged by dozens of years overnight slowly raised up. Yiqing Luo had mentioned it yesterday. She lived in the 100 Garden, and the Flower King took her to the divine world. Now, the two of them were here. Apparently, it was because of Yiqing Luo. He closed his tired eyes and said, Let them in. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 47-78. Was there something wrong with them? All of them were in high positions. How could they kidnap a girl whom they met for the first time to exchange for something from the Feng mansion? The reason they were able to use this method at the end of the road was obviously because they were at their wits' end. How could they be sure that the Feng mansion would give in for her? I heard that the Feng mansion has sent out all the secret guards to search for her. It seems that the Feng mansion really values this girl. Suddenly, a middle-aged man came in from outside and said happily. They all showed greedy smiles when they heard that. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She could see their expressions clearly from the light above her head. She felt a little uneasy. The next day, the Feng mansion closed the city and searched everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. But no one knew why the Feng mansion, which had been silent for so many years, made such a big move. However, there was no news for the whole morning. Patriarch Feng was so anxious that he couldn't eat or sleep. He had been thinking about it for a long time and finally saw his granddaughter. They had only eaten one meal. So he lost her. He was such a failure as a grandfather. Feng Shi sat next to the master of the Feng family sullenly, and her delicate little face was full of worry. Her big eyes were red, and it was obvious that she had just cried. Granny Feng walked in and saw the old and the young. She couldn't help feeling sorry for them. Yesterday, she was still thinking about it. No matter whether the girl was real or not. As long as it could make the old and the young in the Feng mansion happy. Even if she was fake, she had to treat the girl as real. But she was happy for only a few hours. She was lost. Furthermore, she was kidnapped from the heavily guarded Feng manor. But the Feng mansion didn't know anything. Now, they couldn't even find her. Granny Feng sighed and walked into the room. Patriarch, young Master Chongqing and Lord Flower King are here. Feng clan master's body stiffened. The face that seemed to have aged by dozens of years overnight slowly raised up. Yiqing Luo had mentioned it yesterday. She lived in the 100-flower garden and was brought to the divine realm by Flower King. Now they were here. Apparently, it was because of Yiqing Luo. He closed his tired old eyes and said, "Let them in." Granny Feng went out to invite them. Not long later, Feng Chongqing and Ji Wuhua entered the hall. When they saw Patriarch Feng, the two saluted. "You're here for Qing Luo, right?" Patriarch Feng heaved a long sigh. "It's my fault. Qing Luo had finally returned to the Feng family, but I let her go missing in my place." Feng Zhangqing hurriedly stepped forward and held Clan Master Feng's arm. "Clan Master, please don't be sad. If Miss Yi comes back, she certainly wouldn't want to see Clan Master so worried." Ji Wuhua collapsed on a wooden chair at the side. "I'm the unlucky one. I was ordered by the acting Divine Emperor to bring Miss Yi to see the acting Divine Emperor. Now she disappeared from my 100-flower garden and was taken away by someone in the Feng mansion." He covered his face. "How should I face the acting God Emperor so that I won't be beaten to death?" Wuhua. Feng Zhangqing glared at Ji Wuhua in warning. The Feng family master waved his hand and said, "It's my fault. Don't blame the Flower King." He stood up slowly and said helplessly, "I'll explain it to the acting God Emperor. Don't worry." The man who was covering his face suddenly sat up. There was no sadness on his face at all. "You said it yourself." Chapter 47-79. Feng Manor. There were only a few people in the Feng Manor. Feng Zhangqing and Ji Wuhua's sight shifted to Patriarch Feng. Of course, they weren't doubting Patriarch Feng, but asking him if he agreed with this point of view. Feng Clan Master's slightly aged face stiffened slightly, and his face darkened. Indeed, if it wasn't someone from the Feng Manor. How could it be possible to abduct Yiqing Luo, who lived in this courtyard which had long been prohibited from entering and exiting silently? Moreover, the other party must be extremely familiar with the Feng Manor. Granny Feng, who was standing by the side, immediately knelt down on the ground. "Patriarch, I'm loyal to you and young master. I've been taking care of young master since young and I know that he likes Miss Qing Luo. I will never do such a treacherous thing. Other than the two masters of the Feng Manor, and the acting god emperor who rarely appeared in the Feng Manor. The person in charge was her. Therefore, she was the most suspicious one. Patriarch Feng and the others all looked at Granny Feng. Ji Wuhua's lips curled up slightly as he leaned down with a faint smile. How can you prove that it's not you? Granny Feng's face turned pale. I dare to swear with my life that if I have any ill intentions towards Patriarch, I'm willing to be punished by the heavens. Ji Wuhua curled his lips. What's the use of swearing? Anyway, everyone in the Feng Manor is a suspect. Enough. Patriarch Feng spoke in a low and cold voice. I believe in Granny Feng. Granny Feng's eyes were slightly red. Thank you, Patriarch. She had been following the Feng Manor since young. She had been a servant girl all the way to her current position. She had never been disloyal to the Feng family. Now such a thing had happened. She understood why everyone doubted her. But, hearing Patriarch Feng's trust, she immediately felt relieved. As long as Patriarch and young master believed her, it was enough. Granny Feng, invite the Feng Manor's secret guards and guard captain here. Patriarch Feng's tone was dignified and his expression was solemn. Yes. Granny Feng handed Feng Shi over to Patriarch Feng and left. Feng Shi rarely took the initiative to hold Patriarch Feng's hand, and her big eyes were filled with tears. Grandpa, Wolf Fairy's sister, come back. I'll be back. Feng family's patriarch paused after every word as he held Tiny Tot's little hand. Qing Luo will be fine. When Yi Qing Luo opened her eyes again, it was already bright. Sunlight shone down from above, illuminating the dark room. Perhaps, to be more accurate, this was a dungeon. The environment was filthy and messy. There were no guards around. The middle-aged men from yesterday had also disappeared without a trace. But that's true, they tied her up like this. There was indeed no need to worry that she would run away. After all, there was no way to escape. Last night, a few middle-aged men confronted her for a long time. They didn't get anything useful out of each other. As soon as the sky brightened, the group of people hurriedly left. While they're gone, he had to think of a way to leave this place. Old Man Tsang, is there any way to break this iron chain? Yi Qing Luo asked in her heart. Old Man Tsang's tone was solemn. This is a special ice iron chain made by the God Realm to trap cultivators. Unless we get the key. Otherwise, if we use brute force to break it, it will cause too much fluctuation. It would also easily attract the attention of those who locked her here. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips pursed slightly. Chi and the rest can't bite this iron chain. Chapter 4780. The environment was dirty and messy. There were no guards around. Those middle-aged men yesterday were nowhere to be seen. But it was also, they tied her up like this. And there was no need to worry that she would escape. After all, there was no way to escape. Last night, those middle-aged men confronted her for a long time. They didn't get any useful information from each other. When the sky was bright, a group of people left in a hurry. While they were away, she had to find a way to get out of here. Old Man Tsang, is there any way to break this iron chain? Yi Qing Luo asked in her heart. Old Man Tsang's tone was solemn. This is a special ice iron chain used to trap cultivators. Unless you get the key. Otherwise, if you use brute force to break it, it will cause too much fluctuation. It would also easily attract the attention of those who locked her here. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips pursed slightly. Chi and the rest can't bite this iron chain. I'm afraid not. Old Man Tsang sighed softly. Even the teeth of the sacred beasts can't bite the indestructible ice iron chain. Yi Qing Luo said, am I going to be locked up by them like this until they are willing to let me go? The premise was that they would let her go. She felt that those middle-aged men had gone crazy. They said that they were going to report to the Feng residents that she was caught. But, until now, there was no news. Yiqing Luo was wondering if she had been forgotten, right? Probably not. Old man Song said, after all, your face is too similar to the Emperor of God. It's rare for the Feng family's patriarch to meet his biological granddaughter. How could he give you up? But I don't want to wait for grandfather to save me like this. Yunjiomo pursed her pink lips tightly and lowered her eyes slightly. For her, Feng family was extremely unfamiliar. But kinship came from the heart. Like her, when she saw the gray-haired old man Feng, her heart softened. Like old man Feng, even if he hadn't confirmed her identity, based on the kinship between both parties, he was sure of her identity. Old man Feng's feelings for her were real. She didn't want to give the Feng family any compromise for her on the first day she returned to the Feng family. A group of people in high positions would not hesitate to kidnap a strange girl like her as a hostage against the Feng family. It was enough to show that these people wanted to get something from the Feng family for a long time. That was why he had no choice to do such a thing. Yiqing Luo's eyes drooped as her heart felt heavy. Suddenly, a few sounds came from outside the secret chamber. A figure quietly approached the secret chamber. Yiqing Luo recognized that man. It was one of the middle-aged men she met last night. Cautiously, he scanned his surroundings. He then stepped into the secret chamber. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly and was about to get up. The middle-aged man, who had a gloomy and solemn expression that night, now revealed a kind smile. "Sure. Miss, don't move, don't move. I'm here to help you." She moved. The sound of the ice chains was extremely loud. It was easy to cause agitation. "Help her." Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she sized up the middle-aged man. "Can you help me?" The middle-aged man walked over with a smile. "Don't you want to leave this place? You can get this key." Yiqing Luo lowered her head and glanced at the iron chains tied to her hands and feet. The middle-aged man nodded, "Of course." Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. "What conditions?" No matter how amiable the middle-aged man's smile was. Chapter 4781. The middle-aged man's smile became even more joyous, and with more sincerity. He was sincerely trying to coax this young lady. "As long as you tell me the whereabouts of the Phoenix residence's treasures." He lowered his voice, as his tone became more bewitching. "I will let you leave this place, and guarantee that I will escort you to the Phoenix residence safely." Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes, as her eyes curved, as her eyelashes rose. Her gorgeous face was secretly in a dilemma. As though she was pondering, should she believe his words or not? But moments later, the young lady's eyes widened, as she put on a serious expression. "I really don't know what you're talking about." The more Yiqing Luo said, the more the middle-aged man felt that Yiqing Luo absolutely knew. After several rounds of enticement, this confirmed his guess even more. But the young lady just insisted that she didn't know. After spending about one incense's time, the middle-aged man's brows were filled with a sliver of impatience and fluster. Probably afraid that the matter of him quietly coming to look for Yiqing Luo would be discovered by the other middle-aged men. The middle-aged man's expression sunk, as he looked at the young lady who was stubbornly biting her pink lips, as he started to threaten her. "Young lady, you're an intelligent person. Don't tell me you want to be locked up here forever." He took a step forward, as he stretched out his hand in an attempt to pull Yiqing Luo in front of him. Yiqing Luo was so frightened that she shrank backwards. The entire dark room was filled with the sound of iron chains dragging on the ground. It shocked the middle-aged man so much that he stopped in his tracks, as he gave a flustered "hush" to Yiqing Luo. He hurriedly took 2 steps back, not daring to get close to Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips, as though she was badly frightened, as her long eyelashes were still fluttering. Although the middle-aged man didn't get close, he continued to threaten her. "Young lady, those few people are not as easy to talk to as me. If you listen to me, you'll be good, I'll be good, everyone will be good." But he gave a cold laugh. "Their methods. You, young lady, will not be able to take it." Yiqing Luo bit her lips, as though she was pondering over his words, as she lowered her head slightly. After some time, she slowly opened her mouth. "What you said. Is it true?" When the middle-aged man heard that there was a chance, he immediately smiled. "How could I lie to you? I just couldn't bear to see such a beautiful little girl like you being defiled by those old men, so I specially came to save you. I'm a good person." The smile on his face rippled. This made Yiqing Luo's mind immediately conjure up an image. "Don't be afraid, uncle is a good person." Yiqing Luo's alluring eyes concealed all her emotions as she maintained her innocent and harmless expression, asking, "I can believe you, but you have to tell me specifically, what kind of precious treasure are you referring to?" Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly. These people had kidnapped her and brought her here. He was using this to threaten the Phoenix Mansion to hand over the so-called treasure. She still didn't know what that treasure was. He planned to get some clues from the middle-aged man's mouth. Suddenly, a series of light footsteps came from outside the dark room. He tiptoed and was very careful. The middle-aged man's expression changed when he heard the commotion. His gaze swept across the surroundings. He immediately rushed to the haystack behind Yiqing Luo. He didn't forget to make a shushing gesture towards Yiqing Luo, as he immediately shrunk into the haystack. Yiqing Luo. Which dog thing disturbed her to get information? Chapter 4782. Outside the dark room, a man walked in carefully. Just like the previous middle-aged man, he looked around vigilantly. When he saw Yiqing Luo, he revealed the same kind smile. Yiqing Luo. She seemed to have predicted the reason why the other party came to the dark room. As expected, the second middle-aged man asked the same question as the first middle-aged man. The majestic haystack trembled. Yiqing Luo glanced at that person, pursed her lips and shook her head. "I don't know what you're asking." The second person's temper was much worse than the first. After a few rounds of questioning, Yiqing Luo avoided answering. So she directly threatened. Just as she was threatening, another set of footsteps came from outside the dark room. The second person gave Yiqing Luo a threatening stare, and even made a neck-slitting gesture. Following that, he burrowed into the haystack. The haystack hid the second person's figure. After a few breaths, a sound was heard from inside. But after the third person entered the dark room, he stopped abruptly, keeping quiet. The third person was the same. He also came to ask Yiqing Luo about the so-called Phoenix Residence's treasures. Following that, it seemed as though everyone had agreed on it. One after another. Almost all the 5 people who met last night lined up. The only hiding place in the dark room was the haystack, which was filled with people. When the last person stood in front of Yiqing Luo, a bam sound was heard. The haystack fell to the ground. 4 middle-aged men fell out. And the 5th person who was standing in front of Yiqing Luo, smiling amiably, trying to dig out information from her mouth, looked at each other in dismay. When their eyes met, it was extremely awkward. "You guys. Why are you here?" The gazes they shot at each other were filled with suspicion. The 5 of them looked at each other for a moment. The 5th person seemed to have understood something, as he pointed at the 4 of them and shouted, "Good. Trying to find out the whereabouts of the Phoenix Residence's treasures behind my back." The four of them were unconvinced, as though you came here secretly, not for the Phoenix Residence's treasures. For a moment, the few of them were speechless. The entire screen was filled with an awkward atmosphere. None of them had expected that their thoughts would coincide with those of the others. All of them wanted to find out from Yiqing Luo's mouth about the treasures in the Phoenix Manor and monopolize the treasures for themselves. Cough, Yiqing Luo was the first to break the silence. Listen to me first. The five of them simultaneously shot their gazes towards Yiqing Luo. The treasure that you're talking about. What exactly are you referring to? Yiqing Luo was also interested in that treasure. A crafty light flashed in her charming eyes. Since you all want that thing, why don't you let me go back to the Feng Manor first, and I'll find it for you. The second person's face darkened, and he immediately shouted, do you think we're all fools? If I let you go, do you think you can come back? Of course there are conditions. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him and continued, to be able to make you guys go crazy over a treasure, it must be extremely valuable. As long as I help you find that treasure. Her voice paused for a moment, then her charming eyes slowly focused on the people in front of her. I want to join you and enjoy the benefits of the Phoenix Manor's treasures. The young lady's pink lips curled up slightly, as she smiled sweetly. That pair of captivating eyes were filled with a scheming and crafty expression. The Feng Manor values me very much, and only I can come and go as I please in the Feng Manor. You guys probably can't even step into the Feng Manor's main door, right? Chapter 4783. The young lady's words made the expressions of the five of them congealed slightly. Undeniable. What she said was the truth. The Feng mansion was heavily guarded, and the Feng family master was a stubborn person. Even if they had the chance to enter the Feng residence, the range of action was only the boundary of the guest hall. Not to mention searching for the whereabouts of the treasure. Even if they knew the exact location of the treasure, it probably wouldn't be that easy to get it. But this young lady in front of them. She looked innocent and harmless. One look and they knew she was someone who could be easily grasped. If they could use her for their own use. She was indeed a help. The five of them exchanged glances and saw the deep meaning in each other's eyes. Yiqing Luo maintained a sweet shallow arc. Her long and narrow eyes were curved, hiding that smirk and ridicule in the depths of her eyes. If she promised herself to help them find the Feng family's treasure, they wouldn't believe her. But if she showed any other desire, help with a purpose, these people would naturally choose to believe her. Moreover, these people were certain that she had a pivotal position in the Feng residence. What she said was able to arouse the greed in their hearts. After all, they could find her alone to inquire about the whereabouts of the treasure. It was obvious that these people were all selfish. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly and continued to bewitch them. Since you value the Feng family's treasures so much, it must be something good. The five of you, after getting the treasure, you will split the loot. Adding me, it's also a split, isn't it? The young lady's voice was filled with a sense of complacency, full of a little girl's look. The few of them looked at each other in dismay. There was an ambiguous smile in the depths of his eyes. This young lady thought that the treasure they were talking about was the real rare treasure. Still thinking of splitting the loot. That thing couldn't be split. But this young lady didn't know anything, so it was good for them. After the treasure was in their hands, either give her something casually, or just kill her. The few of them exchanged glances and the first person raised a gentle smile. What young lady said makes sense. One more is one more, then. That's settled, you're in charge of finding the location, we'll be in charge of getting it. Yiqing Luo nodded smilingly. Looking at the girl's innocent and harmless appearance, they didn't think that this girl could play tricks under their noses. Even if she was playing tricks, they had plenty of ways to subdue her. Since we've come to an agreement, can you help me remove these chains? Yiqing Luo stretched out both her hands. These chains are a little heavy. On the girl's fair arm, there was a circle of red marks from being rubbed by the iron chains. The first person pondered for a moment. He took out the key and unlocked it for her. Freed from the restraints, Yiqing Luo finally felt much more relaxed. She rubbed her reddened wrist. You, eat this. The first person took out a medicinal pill and passed it to Yiqing Luo. The pill was about the size of a fingernail. It was brown and had a strong medicinal smell. Yiqing Luo stared at that medicinal pill as her brows creased slightly. What does this mean? Chapter 4784. The first man continued, Young lady, as long as you listen obediently and do what we tell you, I promise. I will give you the antidote once we get the treasure. Yiqing Luo grabbed that medicinal pill as a hesitant expression surfaced on her gorgeous face. She pursed her lips slightly. You won't lie to me. The 5 middle-aged men smiled amiably. We still need your help, and only you can help us. How could we lie to you? Yiqing Luo hesitated for a long time before she believed them. In front of them, she swallowed the pill into her mouth. Until the young lady closed her mouth and made a swallowing action. Their eyes were filled with smiles. Little did they know. The moment the young lady raised her hand and put the pill into her mouth, the azure dew bracelet on her wrist had already absorbed the pill into the bracelet and directly passed it to Cauldron Dragon to analyze the effect of this pill. After Yiqing Luo finished eating the pill, the few of them let down their guard against her. As for them, even if Yiqing Luo had a close relationship with the Feng family, she was just a little girl. She was a greedy little girl who was ignorant of worldly affairs. People, with greed and desire, were easier to control. The 5 of them wanted to find out the news about the Feng family's treasure from Yiqing Luo's mouth, and then keep it for themselves. But at this time, the 5 of them were surprisingly united. After settling Yiqing Luo, the 5 of them discussed for a while. Then they led Yiqing Luo out of the dark room. Outside the dark room was a long passageway. It wasn't especially spacious. About the distance of 3 adult men walking together. 2 of them walked in front. Yiqing Luo and the first man were arranged in the middle. Behind them were 2 people. They surrounded Yiqing Luo tightly, not giving her the slightest chance to escape. Of course, they didn't think that Yiqing Luo would be so silly to escape under their eyes. Yiqing Luo's performance was obedient. Just like that, he followed behind them. However, her long and narrow eyes had a panoramic view of the surrounding environment. This passageway wasn't especially long. The 5 of them were discussing the location of the Feng family's treasure as they walked. Everyone's face was filled with a joyful smile. His tone was also very light. It was as if he had already sketched out the beautiful dream after getting the Feng family's treasures. Yiqing Luo walked on quietly. When they were about to reach the exit of the tunnel, her ears twitched. Her long and narrow eyes were fixated on the exit, and a strange fluctuation flashed past her eyes. He was getting closer to the exit. She became even more vigilant. The treasure of the Feng family must be in the most secret place of the Feng family. The third person guessed. Feng family has always claimed that their Feng family doesn't have that treasure. When the divine emperor passed away, the only person he saw was Feng family master. That thing must have been given to Feng family master. How about, after this little girl returns to the Feng family, let her quietly open the door for us at night, and let us enter the Feng mansion to look for her. The other four agreed with this statement. He didn't even ask Yi Qing Luo a single question and had already made up his mind so happily. A ray of light shone from the exit, illuminating the place. The sun was shining brightly. But Yi Qing Luo could clearly feel that the surrounding air seemed to be swirling with a storm, which was extremely chilly and terrifying. As expected, Yi Qing Luo didn't sense anything. After the five of them stepped out of the exit, all the complacency and smiles on their faces. At this moment, it had completely dissipated, leaving nothing behind. Chapter 4785. Say, sir. The five of them trembled as they looked at the person standing at the exit. Their bodies were so weak that they almost fell to the ground. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly and looked past the few weak black-robed men towards the exit. That figure standing against the light. A black cloak covered him from head to toe. Only a pair of eyes that were as cold as a devil's. That man's imposing manner was terrifying. Even though Yi Qing Luo was wearing that cold jade pendant, under that imposing manner, she couldn't help but feel a squeezing feeling in her heart. So strong. That black-robed man was several times stronger than these five middle-aged men. Yi Qing Luo's heart was slightly lifted. In your eyes, do you still have this lord? The black-robed man's voice was deliberately changed using profound energy, sounding extremely sinister and cold. It was as sharp as a steel needle, piercing straight into the eardrum. The five of them were so scared that they immediately knelt on the ground, each of them trembling like a sieve. No, we don't dare. We pledge our loyalty to Lord. The black-robed man snorted lightly, full of ridicule. This lord can't see your loyalty. The five of them knelt down. Yi Qing Luo, who stood ramrod straight, was extremely eye-catching. The black-robed man's cold gaze faintly passed the five of them and fell on Yi Qing Luo. The five of them trembled as they racked their brains to find an excuse. She is just a young lady. I saw her pitiful, so I accompanied her, to go out to bask in the sun. This excuse was really far-fetched. But they had no other excuse to find. This lord couldn't tell that you know how to be tender towards the fairer sex. The black-robed man's voice was even more sarcastic. That chilly gaze was still fixated on Yi Qing Luo. The smile was vicious and chilly. The five of them trembled and could only bite the bullet to admit, because she said, if we let her go out to bask in the sun and relax, she will tell us the whereabouts of the Feng family's treasures. I thought, with the five of us guarding, a young lady can't stir up any waves. One of them turned his head over and gave Yi Qing Luo a warning and terrified stare. Young lady, do you think? Are you the one who begged us to use the whereabouts of Feng family's treasures as an exchange condition? The five of them glanced at Yi Qing Luo from the corner of their eyes. This young girl had eaten the pills they had fed her. If he did not obey, without their antidote, he would definitely die. So, as long as the girl admitted it, they could then push all the blame onto the girl. Yi Qing Luo's brows lifted slightly as her gaze swept past the five people who were kneeling on the ground and shivering. Her pink lips curled into a cold arc that seemed to be a smile yet not a smile. Her long and narrow eyes were slightly curved, like ripples of water. Yes. The young girl's voice was clear and enchanting. She chuckled, it was me who wanted to come out. The five of them heaved a sigh of relief. Then they heard the young girl continued, but it wasn't me who begged them, but they begged me. Her slender fingers curled up a lock of hair which had fallen onto her shoulder as she smiled sweetly. They wanted to swallow the Feng family's treasures for themselves. I merely revealed a little and they believed what I said. So silly. The young girl covered her mouth as she didn't conceal the ridicule in her tone. You You're talking nonsense. The five of them turned pale as they had not expected Yiqing Luo to suddenly go back on her words. They stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. We are absolutely loyal to Sir, you slut, don't try to sow discord. Chapter 4786. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled even more, as she couldn't be bothered with those five people. She raised her eyes slightly, as her vision fell onto the black-robed man. She met the black-robed man's gloomy gaze without fear. Full of smiles, without any fluctuations on her face. You're not afraid of this seat. The black-robed man's eyes grew colder, as though it was filled with chilly intent. Yiqing Luo shook her fingers. You can't catch me, what should I be afraid of? So confident. The black-robed man seemed to laugh, that voice which had been changed by the profound energy. When he laughed, it sounded especially sharp. Do you think this seat will give you the chance to leave? Yiqing Luo's fingertips caressed her lower lip, as the arc of her charming eyes slightly raised, with some undetectable coldness. Her expression didn't change, as she was very calm. Then, why do you think I will give you the chance to stop me? The two of them looked at each other. No one was the first to leave their line of sight. The five people kneeling on the ground looked at this scene. Their hearts were trembling with fear. None of them had expected it. That young lady in front of them, who looked delicate and lovely, actually had such a strong aura. When she was entangled with their lord's aura, that slightly immature, devastatingly beautiful young face was actually not inferior to their lord at all. Simply, evenly matched. If they knew, this young lady would have that kind of flamboyant self-confidence, that breathtaking aura which made one unable to take their eyes off. They would absolutely not listen to this young lady's words. Unfortunately, even if they regretted, it was already too late. The black-robed man's eyes were cold, as a ball of black fog spread out in between his pupils, as though a whirlpool was about to attack. Just as the black-robed man was about to make a move to capture the young lady lady's figure moved. The fiery long dress fluttered in the wind. In midair, a beautiful mark was left behind. The speed was so fast that it couldn't be captured by the naked eye. While the young lady was moving, she didn't forget to turn back, her long and narrow eyes curved, as the corners of her lips couldn't conceal the ridicule. On account of being a captive whom you have captured before, let me kindly remind you. These 5 dogs of yours really aren't obedient. The next time you choose dogs, you must choose correctly. Following the young lady's voice, that shimmering red had completely disappeared in front of his eyes. Within 100 miles, he could not sense the slightest trace of the young woman's aura. The 5 of them turned pale instantly as they looked at the direction where Yiqing Luo disappeared in disbelief. That young girl, how could she possibly escape under the Lord's nose? Why didn't Sir chase after them? Instead, he allowed the girl to escape. The black-robed man who received the astonished gazes of the 5 people, he wanted to chase after her and stop her. However, even he couldn't sense the young girl's figure before she disappeared in front of him. The black-robed man narrowed his eyes dangerously, revealing a hint of darkness and coldness. Teleportation secret technique, he murmured the words under his breath. It was no wonder that the young girl dared to be so unbridled. The teleportation secret art had indeed rendered them helpless. What a good Yiqing Luo. Things were getting more and more interesting. There was a light sneer, and it was so strange that it sent chills down one's spine. The 5 people kneeling on the ground trembled under this light sneer. Despair and a gloomy and cold aura filled their bodies and minds. They were afraid that there would be no tomorrow. Yiqing Luo displayed the teleportation secret art and speedily left that group of people by 100 miles. That black-robed man gave her too much pressure. Not to mention that black-robed man. If those 5 middle-aged men joined hands to deal with her, She might not be able to take it. Chapter 4787. She wasn't a fool. How could she possibly escape after fighting with the other party? By that time, would she be able to escape? She could escape comfortably. Why make a big fuss? But Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if the black-robed man would catch up. She looked around her. Just as she was about to run further, she summoned Chi-Chi. Just as she moved, a powerful profound light shot over from afar. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly tightened as she looked towards the direction where the profound ray came from. No one. The air seemed to have quietened down again. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly as she quickly looked around. Suddenly, a hand was placed on her shoulder. Yiqing Luo suddenly turned her hand back and the profound ray gathered in her palm as she slapped backwards. A hand abruptly intercepted her wrist. A slightly familiar warm smell rushed into her nose. Yiqing Luo withdrew her imposing manner and raised her head suddenly. Sure enough, she met with a handsome face. Bloodbone Barbaric King. It was actually Bloodbone Barbaric King. Why was he here? Wasn't he in the Earth boundary? Bloodbone Barbaric King grabbed the young lady's arm as his dark eyes swept back and forth on her body. Finally, his gaze landed on the red mark on her wrist. His brows suddenly knitted tightly. Yiqing Luo took a look at her wrist and withdrew her hand. It's okay, I was just locked for a while. Who did it? Bloodbone Barbaric King's gaze was gloomy. Yiqing Luo knew that he was worried about her. She shook her head. Let's go back to Feng family first, I'll tell you all at once. You still intend to go back? Bloodbone Barbaric King frowned, his brows were filled with disapproval. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as her lips curled. You said it yourself, that's Feng family, mother's family. Mother is no longer around, this Feng family, if I don't return, maternal grandfather alone won't be able to hold on. To be able to let Patriarch Feng survive till now. It was all because of his obsession to find his daughter's biological daughter. Now, she appeared. If she disappeared again, this would definitely be a heavy blow to Patriarch Feng. The barbaric Bloodbone King's face stiffened, but in the end, he did not say anything to stop him. Yiqing Luo took the initiative to hold the Bloodbone Barbaric King's arm. After all, he is my mother's father and my maternal grandfather. For my mother's sake, accompany me back to the Feng family, okay? The young girl's charming words and that sweet smile. The Bloodbone Barbarian King's eyes twitched. Even though the girl looked very similar to Feng Gu. However, the barbaric Blood King could clearly feel the difference between the two of them. But, even so, he couldn't refuse any of the girl's requests. Yiqing Luo didn't give the barbaric Bloodbone King any chance to reject. After acting coquettishly, she pulled the Bloody Bone Barbarian King toward the Feng family. Feng Manor. Feng Clan Master looked at the news provided by the informant, and his face was gloomy. He slammed the table. What a bunch of 5 great nobles. How dare you lay your hands on my granddaughter? The 5 great aristocrats. Feng Zhangqing frowned slightly. Why would the aristocrats kidnap Miss Yi? Yiqing Luo had just arrived at the God Realm. It should be impossible for her to form a feud with the 5 great nobles. Or rather, it was impossible for the 5 great nobles to know Yiqing Luo. And why would they kidnap Yiqing Luo? Their target is our Feng family. Feng Clan Master clenched his fists tightly, a murderous look filled his eyes. Dare to kidnap my Feng family's granddaughter, I'd like to see how arrogant the 5 great nobles are now. He stood up abruptly, and his gaze swept over to Granny Feng. Get ready, we're going to the 5 great nobles. Chapter 4788. Granny Feng immediately made arrangements. Feng Zhangqing and Ji Wuhua looked at each other. Let's go too. Saying that, the group of people headed towards the main door of the Feng residence. Just as they reached the main door of the Feng residence, they heard a voice full of laughter. Hey, you all know that I'm coming back at this time and you personally came to welcome me. The young lady's clear voice was like pearls falling on a plate. When it fell into everyone's ears, it made everyone's eyes lit up as their faces revealed a joyful expression. It's Qing Luo. Not too far ahead, a drop-dead gorgeous young woman in fluttering red clothes was slowly walking towards them. Behind the young lady was the gloomy-looking blood-bone barbaric king. After seeing Yi Qing Luo, Feng family's patriarch almost subconsciously walked towards her. Because of excitement, the old man's footsteps were somewhat messy. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly took the initiative to welcome him and held his arm. Grandfather, I've made you worried. Are you hurt anywhere? Tell grandfather if you feel uncomfortable, grandfather will ask someone to come over to take a look. Feng family's patriarch sized Yi Qing Luo up, his eyes filled with concern. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Nothing, what could happen to me? Feng family's patriarch's eyes were slightly red. He raised his head and looked at Bloodbone Barbaric King behind Yi Qing Luo. Bone Lord, it's all thanks to you today. It has nothing to do with this god. Bloodbone Barbaric King was expressionless. When this god followed her aura and rushed over, she had already escaped. Feng family's patriarch was slightly stunned when he heard that. Even the few people who followed behind were stunned. When Feng family's patriarch regained his senses, his expression was somewhat solemn. He pulled Yi Qing Luo and walked towards the Feng residence. Let's go back and talk. The group of people turned around and walked into the Feng residence. No one noticed it. Not far from the main door of the Feng residence, a few black-robed men with gloomy expressions and vicious aura were staring at the slowly closing main door of the Feng residence. That young lady from the Feng family is back. Informed Sir first. One of them took out a paper crane. Profound light surged. That paper crane instantly turned into a ball of light and flew towards somewhere. Returning to the main hall of the Feng manor, Feng family's patriarch pulled Yi Qing Luo along as he asked all sorts of questions. After all, the tip-off was that Yi Qing Luo had been kidnapped by the combined forces of the 5 great aristocrats. It fell into the hands of the 5 great aristocratic families. Yi Qing Luo was able to come back safe and sound. Or with just his own strength. The more Feng clan master thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Qing Luo, were you forced to come back? Or poisoned? Feng family's patriarch suddenly closed the distance between Yi Qing Luo, as he lowered his voice and asked. Yi Qing Luo. Grandfather, aren't you imagining too much? She patted Feng clan's master's hand. I'm fine, I'm really fine. Those people can't hurt me. Feng clan master was still worried. Feng Zhangqing said, Lord Patriarch, why don't you let Wuhua take a look at Miss Yi? Ji Wuhua was one of the top 3 alchemists in the entire divine world. His medical skills were superb. However, Ji Wuhua rarely saved people. Or rather, he had never saved anyone in front of anyone. Over time, the people in the divine world almost forgot that Ji Wuhua was also a doctor. Feng clan master quickly looked at Ji Wuhua. Flower King, it's about the beauty's safety, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Ji Wuhua smiled evilly, a pair of captivating phoenix eyes seemed to be emitting electric current. It seemed that he still wanted to prove his charm in front of Yi Qing Luo. Waste 7th Miss, Lord Overlord, please be gentle with your love, will continue to be updated in the Sea of Books Pavilion. There are no advertisements in the site, please collect and recommend the Sea of Books Pavilion. Waste 7th Miss, Lord Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Waste 7th Miss, Lord Overlord, please be gentle with your love. The Sea of Books Pavilion is the fastest to update. Chapter 4789. However, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't fluctuate at all when she met Ji Wuhua's eyes. Ji Wuhua's devilish smile froze for a moment. Following that, he took the initiative to walk towards Yiqing Luo. Every step he took, that was called enchanting. His long and narrow phoenix eyes were embellished with a captivating charm. Yiqing Luo, who could drag this coquettish fox down? When a man became enchanting, there was nothing for a woman to do. Ji Wuhua walked to Yiqing Luo's side and gave her an enchanting smile. "Miss Yi, please stretch out your hand." Yiqing Luo endured, and just as she was about to stretch out her hand, she was grabbed by Bloodbone Barbaric King. Bloodbone Barbaric King pulled Yiqing Luo behind him and stared coldly at Ji Wuhua. "Flower King, please conduct yourself with dignity." Ji Wuhua's eyes were smiling, his phoenix eyes were like a blossoming flame flower. "This king hasn't done anything yet, isn't Bone Lord making a big fuss out of nothing?" While saying that, he threw a coquettish look at Yiqing Luo. "Miss Yi, don't you think so?" Yiqing Luo. She couldn't resist the urge to beat him up. What should she do? She stared at Ji Wuhua, took a deep breath and said word by word, "Do you know that you look especially ugly?" The word ugly caused Ji Wuhua's face, which was originally full of smiles, to stiffen. Following that, his enchanting expression broke down bit by bit. "What did you say?" Ji Wuhua's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth in anger. Yiqing Luo smiled. "I said you're ugly." Ji Wuhua. "You're the ugly one, your whole family is ugly." He was so good-looking. In the entire God realm, there were so many women who wanted to throw themselves into his arms like moths to a flame. How could he be ugly? Absolutely intolerable. Enough. Feng Zhangqing held down Ji Wuhua with a slight headache. "Don't argue about such a meaningless topic, let Miss Yi take a look at her body first." Ji Wuhua slapped Feng Zhangqing's hand away. "How could this be a meaningless topic? She is questioning my charm." "Who am I?" "I am the most charming man in the God realm, Flower King." He was gnashing his teeth as he spoke. Then he flung his sleeves forcefully. "What are you looking at? Do you really think that I, the Flower King, would do that?" Feng Zhangqing still wanted to say something. Yiqing Luo interrupted them. "I'm fine. I agreed to check your pulse just to reassure my grandfather. Since Flower King doesn't want to, there's no need to trouble yourself." She hooked her pink lips and helped Master Feng to sit down. "Grandpa, I'm really fine. Don't you believe me? You don't want me to check your pulse, but I still want to." Ji Wuhua was rebellious. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had rejected him, a famous doctor in the God realm, to check her pulse, Ji Wuhua's heart sank. He immediately grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. Yiqing Luo, she suddenly comprehended the ability to control Ji Wuhua. Ji Wuhua wanted to check her pulse. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't reject it. She didn't eat the pills that the 5 people fed her. Naturally, his body would not show any signs of being poisoned. But, when Ji Wuhua's fingers pressed on her pulse, his handsome face, which originally had a carefree expression on it, immediately stiffened and became serious. His pair of red phoenix eyes were opened wide, staring at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. "What's wrong? Is there anything wrong with Qing Luo's body?" Feng Zhangqing got anxious. No, Ji Wuhua swallowed his saliva. She is pregnant. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please be gentle with your love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please be gentle with your love. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4790. Pulse of pregnancy. Feng family patriarch was stunned. When he reacted, his face suddenly turned pale. His eyes were full of shock and disbelief. He looked at Yi Qing Luo, his voice was trembling. Qing Luo, you have already. His line of sight slid down. It landed on Yi Qing Luo's belly. Yi Qing Luo, her hand subconsciously touched her belly. Pulse of pregnancy. She was pregnant. No, there should be no such possibility. She was also a doctor, although a doctor didn't treat himself. But it was impossible for her not to know this kind of thing. But her subconscious action had already shown everything. Feng family patriarch clenched his fists. Qing Luo, you are already married. No. She and Dmo Xian hadn't had the time to get married yet. Who is that man? Feng family patriarch was furious when he heard that. His face was slightly distorted. Not married. But pregnant. What kind of bad man had his granddaughter been cheated by? Feng family patriarch was so angry that his face flushed. His rough but warm big palm held Yi Qing Luo's little hand tightly. Grandfather will definitely seek justice for you. Give birth to this child, grandfather will raise it for you. Yi Qing Luo was touched and felt funny. Did she look like a person who would be cheated by a scumbag? Grandfather, I'm not pregnant. Yi Qing Luo explained. You don't have to lie to grandfather knows your pain. Feng family patriarch's old eyes were red. Grandfather will definitely catch that man for you. Grandfather, I'm really not pregnant. Yi Qing Luo had some headache and explained again. However, Feng family patriarch had an expression of, I know, I understand, don't listen, I don't listen. Yi Qing Luo. Grandfather, what do you understand? Can't you listen to her explanation for once? She felt even more headache. She suddenly pulled out the hand that was held tightly by Feng family patriarch, stood up and kicked Ji Wuhua unexpectedly. Ji Wuhua staggered. Yi Qing Luo grabbed his arm from behind. She lifted her foot and kicked him in the back, kicking him to the front of Feng family patriarch. You give me a good explanation. Ji Wuhua was caught off guard by the kick. His upper body staggered and fell on the table. His handsome face immediately darkened. What are you doing? This was the first time in Ji Wuhua's life that he had been put into such a difficult position by a woman. Yi Qing Luo sneered, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm already giving you face by not killing you. Ji Wuhua covered his aching stomach. It was just a joke. Is there a need to be so violent? Yi Qing Luo gave a fake smile. Oh, you can't lift it. Who can't lift it? Ji Wuhua was furious. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Oh, I was just joking. How can you make such a joke? I have 3,000 beauties in my palace. If you make such a joke, what will happen to my beauties? Ji Wuhua was exasperated. You can joke around, why can't I? Yi Qing Luo sneered, hurry up and explain, I don't have time to joke around with you. The conversation between the two. The people around him understood what he meant. Feng family patriarch's face changed slightly, just. What Flower King said just now was just a joke. Yes. Yi Qing Luo nodded helplessly, how can I not know my own body? Feng family patriarch grabbed the teacup and threw it at Ji Wuhua's face. How dare you make such a joke? Do you think my Qing Luo doesn't care about her reputation? Waste 7th Missy, Overlord, please be gentle with your love, will continue to be updated in the Sea of Books Pavilion. There are no advertisements on the website, so please collect and recommend the Sea of Books Pavilion. Waste 7th Missy, Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Waste 7th Missy, Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Chapter 4791. Ji Wuhua was hit in the face by the tea, and more than half of his handsome face was soaked in the tea. He quickly covered his face. A gentleman uses his mouth instead of his fists. I am after all one of the 3 kings, Flower King. How can I lose my face when you treat me like this? How can you make this kind of joke? Foam family's patriarch was so angry that his beard was blowing. Fortunately there are no outsiders around. If Qing Luo's reputation is ruined, I will beat you up. Ji Wuhua rubbed his face and felt wronged. What reputation? Your granddaughter has no reputation for a long time. What nonsense are you talking about? Foam family's patriarch grabbed the things on the table and threw them at Ji Wuhua. Ji Wuhua quickly dodged and continued, if you don't believe me, ask your granddaughter if she has a wild man outside. Foam family's patriarch's face froze slightly as he thought of Yi Qing Luo's action of covering her stomach subconsciously. This had obviously exposed something. He looked at Yi Qing Luo cautiously and in a probing manner. He didn't know how to ask. According to Yi Qing Luo's current age, she had reached the marriageable age, so marriage was inevitable. For so many years, he as her grandfather had not accompanied her by her side. He really didn't know how to ask about his granddaughter's feelings. Yi Qing Luo stared at Ji Wuhua, that coquettish fox grandfather. She didn't know where he got the news that she already had someone in her heart. But in front of her grandfather, Yi Qing Luo had no intention to hide. After this matter is over, I will bring him to see you. After a pause, she held Feng family's patriarch's hand and smiled slightly. Grandfather, don't worry. He is very good to me. Feng family's patriarch looked at Yi Qing Luo's smiling face and his old eyes turned slightly red. He patted the back of Yi Qing Luo's hand lightly. It's grandfather who didn't find you early and didn't do his duty as a grandfather to choose a suitable man for you. He sighed softly. Grandfather believes that Qing Luo's foresight is not bad. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Well, my foresight is different from mother. His feelings for me are even deeper than Bloodbone Barbaric King's feelings for mother. The handsome face of the Bloody Bone Barbarian King who was suddenly called out blushed. He rubbed his nose in embarrassment. Why are you suddenly talking about me? Yi Qing Luo beamed. I'm praising you for my mother. Your love is stronger than gold. The barbaric Bloodbone King pursed his lips and did not speak. He still looked cold and unfeeling. However, his eyes, which had clearly softened, revealed his true emotions. Feng Clan Master took a glance at the barbaric Bloodbone King. Finally, he patted the back of Yi Qing Luo's hand again. If you say so, grandfather can rest assured. Just how deep was Bone Lord's feelings for Feng Gu? As an elder, he saw it all. Thousands of years had passed. Bone Lord still loved his daughter deeply. Patriarch Feng was an experienced person. Naturally, he could tell. When Feng Gu was mentioned, there was a clear change in Bone Lord's gaze. Especially, Bone Lord's feelings towards Qing Luo. He had treated Qing Luo as his own daughter, doting and caring. A thought formed in his mind. But he didn't say it now. Instead, he shifted the topic back to Yi Qing Luo's kidnapping. Qing Luo, do you know who took you away? Feng family's patriarch's expression gradually turned solemn. 7th Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. 7th Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4792. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips slightly, her long and narrow eyes rippled with a strange light. I know, she said, but those people should have no chance to speak now. Feng family patriarch was stunned. You killed them and escaped? No. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Those people I saw were about 40 to 50 years old, and each of them looked like high-ranking officials. Feng family patriarch quickly looked at Feng Pe. Feng Pe understood and walked out of the room. After a while, she walked over with a few portraits. When the portraits were opened, Yiqing Luo recognized the people in the paintings. They were the people she saw in the secret room. "Grandfather, have you found out?" Yiqing Luo pointed at the people in the paintings. Among the dozens of paintings, 5 people were selected and placed on the table. Feng family patriarch's gaze swept through the people in the portraits one by one, clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and said angrily, "It's really the 5 aristocrats. You're used to a comfortable life, how dare you touch my Feng family's people?" 5 aristocrats. Yiqing Luo didn't understand the hierarchy in the god realm. Feng family patriarch explained briefly. In the god realm, there were a total of 3 major clans. The royal family was the leader. That was the Emperor of God Emperor and a series of clans. The aristocrats were the second class. There were 5 aristocrats in the god realm, whose power was second only to the royal family. Especially now, the Emperor of God Emperor had passed away, and the acting Emperor of God Emperor couldn't get the inheritance of the Emperor of God, so he could only temporarily take up the position. The power of the 5 aristocrats was even greater. The last clan was also the most common force in the god realm, Ping clan. And the 5 people Yiqing Luo saw in the secret room. They were all extraordinary people in the 5 aristocrats. There was a patriarch of a certain aristocrat. There was also a certain aristocrat in power. Or a certain brother of a certain aristocrat, etc. In this way, those 5 people's status in the god realm can only be high and not low. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers stroked her chin. What treasure does the Feng family have, worth the 5 aristocrats to take such a big risk? Feng family patriarch's expression changed slightly, hesitated for a moment, and sighed softly. "These are all rumors." "Rumor?" Yiqing Luo was puzzled. After Xiao Gu passed away, there were rumors that Xiao Gu left a treasure in the Feng family. Feng clan master sighed. "Little Gu is the emperor of the emperors. No one in the divine realm is her opponent. What she has is also the strongest thing in the world. Therefore, there is a rumor that whoever obtains the items of the previous divine emperor will be able to command the world, obtain the divine emperor's inheritance, and become the next divine emperor." Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. "So, the 5 people from the 5 great clans want to get that thing and become the next emperor of God? Everyone wants to become a divine emperor." Feng clan master said helplessly. "But, Xiao Gu died so suddenly, how could she leave anything behind? Those people have already been blinded by this rumor and won't even think about it. Even the acting divine emperor, who is related to the former divine emperor by blood, couldn't get the divine emperor's inheritance. How could he get the divine emperor's inheritance just because of one thing?" Yiqing Luo's little hand held Feng clan master's hand tightly. "Never try to wake up a person who is pretending to be asleep. Maybe they know this, but they just don't want to believe it." Feng clan master sighed and shook his head, full of helplessness and exhaustion. "Feng family has explained this rumor countless times, but it's useless, so Feng family is too lazy to explain." Waste 7th Miss, Overlord, Love Gently. The correct chapter will continue to be updated in the Sea of Books Pavilion. There are no advertisements in the website. Please collect and recommend the Sea of Books Pavilion. Waste 7th Miss, Overlord, Love Gently. The correct chapter will continue to be updated in the Sea of Books Pavilion. There are no advertisements in the website. Please collect and recommend the Sea of Books Pavilion. Chapter 4793. But now, because of this unreasonable rumor, it hurt my granddaughter. Feng family's patriarch's eyes gradually gathered into a whirlpool. Deep and gloomy. In any case, I must ask for an explanation from the 5 aristocrats. Yiqing Luo's hands clenched the old man's slightly rough hand. Her eyebrows were stained with some light softness. In her heart, there was a spread of warmth. It made her temperament seem to be much gentler. The feeling of being protected by family was really good. All along, fighting alone, she lived in a state of tension every day. Later, she came to this strange world. Met a group of brothers around her, met Oshien and fell in love with each other. She was finally no longer alone. But, friendship, love, after all, could not replace family. She could feel her grandfather's love for her from the bottom of his heart. At this time, he was really angry for her. He wanted to stand up for her. Obviously, the two had only met for a few hours. Obviously, it had not been verified that she was Feng Ji's daughter. He had already treated her sincerely. This might be family. The smile between Yiqing Luo's eyebrows became more and more brilliant, one hand around her grandfather's shoulder, the whole person, hugged him. Grandfather, you are so good to me. Feng family's patriarch was startled by the sudden hug, then his eyes were slightly red. He reached out and hugged the girl's delicate body. You are my granddaughter. If I don't treat you well, who else can I treat well to? Yiqing Luo chuckled. There was a shallow smile between her eyebrows. The two of them hugged for a moment. The girl moved away and sat next to Feng family's patriarch. Grandfather, is there anyone or force that the 5 aristocrats are afraid of? Feng family's patriarch frowned. Royal family. Royal family. Yiqing Luo slightly condensed for a moment. Royal family, which forces are included? Feng family's patriarch heard Yiqing Luo's implied meaning. You mean, this time the 5 aristocrats united to kidnap you, is because of someone behind the scenes? Yes. Yiqing Luo muttered to herself for a moment as her eyes congealed slightly. When I was imprisoned in the secret chamber, I saw a black-robed man. Those 5 aristocratic families were extremely respectful towards that person. She paused for a moment before continuing. It's very likely that the people from the 5 great aristocratic families have already died at the hands of the black-robed man. This was what she had said from the very beginning. Those people probably wouldn't have the chance to speak anymore. That black-robed man probably wouldn't let those 5 people off. After all, he was a traitor. When Patriarch Feng heard this, his eyes suddenly condensed. Feng Changqing and Ji Wuhua both stood up involuntarily. The faces of the few of them were filled with horror. To be able to make the 5 great nobility clans act so respectfully towards him and not worry about him killing an important member of the 5 great nobility clans, other than the imperial family, there was no one else. However, the royal family had never done such a thing. The Feng family is a royal family force. After all, the Feng family produced a divine emperor, Feng Gu. The current acting emperor was also a member of the Feng family. Then the other royal family forces were the families that had some blood relationship with the Feng family. Those forces had to rely on the Feng family to survive. How could they possibly do such an act of colluding with the 5 great nobility clans to kidnap people from the Feng family? Moreover, the target was the Feng family's treasures. Who in the royal family didn't know that the Feng family didn't have the so-called treasures? So, it might not necessarily be the royal family's force. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment and said, does the God realm also have dark forces? 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect my love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect my love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect my love. Chapter 4794. There was no absolute light in the world. Where there is light, there must be darkness. Even the God realm was not spared. In Yiqing Luo's mind, the image of the person behind the scenes of the secluded palace surfaced. Her eyes darkened slightly. For example, does your God realm have a force called the Palace of Gloomy Darkness? Feng family patriarch frowned. No. When has such a force appeared in the divine realm? Yiqing Luo recalled every single time she had clashed with the Palace of Seclusion. The palace of gloomy darkness had completely treated her as a vessel for the divine phoenix profound heart jade. In addition, they controlled her and made her their puppet. It was as if he wanted to get some clues from her. The Abyss Palace had long known her identity. It was very likely that the goal of Dark Shadow Palace was to find the so-called treasure of the Feng family from her. She had seen the people behind the Palace of Gloomy Darkness and had fought them before. However, when he faced the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness and the black-robed man outside the secret room, he felt like he was about to die. The feeling was completely different. The black-robed man was not the mastermind behind the Dark Palace. However, it was highly possible that it had a close relationship with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips slightly as she narrated the matter of her crossing hands with the Palace of Seclusion in a concise and comprehensive manner. What she said was very simple. But that was the point. After all, the God realm was far superior to the other two realms. For the heaven domain, the land domain, or even the so-called low-class nirvana domain, what happened? Naturally, the immortal realm would not know. Unless it was too big of a commotion. It affected the balance of the three realms. Only then would they pay attention to it. However, he would never take it to heart. Even if the so-called prophecy back then was that the nirvana realm was almost destroyed. Or perhaps it was the war between the heaven and earth realms, which caused the people to have no way of making a living, and it felt like the end of the world. Not even the God realm had interfered. It was clear that the immortal realm did not care about the matters of the lower realms. If it wasn't for the fact that the acting God Emperor wanted to meet Yiqing Luo this time round and specially instructed the God Guardian Squad to invite her over. It was likely that the God realm wouldn't show its face even once. Not to mention the God realm. The so-called heavenly Tao that maintained the balance of the three realms never showed itself. Yiqing Luo didn't know how to ridicule these people. It was said that with great power came great responsibility. They held high positions and were the gods in the hearts of all profound practitioners. He didn't care much about the matters of the lower worlds. Of course, the upper realm became gods. It was because of their talent and ability. Indeed, he had no obligation to care about the life and death of the lower realms. It was his duty not to help. It was a favor to help. Everything depended on the will of the immortal realm. Only, Yiqing Luo was someone from the lower realm. He couldn't help but feel a little indignant. After listening to Yiqing Luo's words, Feng family patriarch's expression froze slightly. His brows were tightly knitted, and he was not angry. What kind of inferior force dares to touch my Feng family's people? From Yiqing Luo's description. The other party clearly knew her identity long ago. In other words, he was deliberately targeting his Feng family. Grandfather will definitely get to the bottom of this matter. Feng family master's eyes flashed coldly. The Feng family has not been involved in worldly affairs for many years, but it doesn't mean that the Feng family has declined. He waved his hand and glanced at Granny Feng. Call the acting God Emperor back. Granny Feng was stunned. Lord Patriarch, the acting God Emperor is focused on the affairs of the God realm. I'm afraid he won't. It's okay, you can rest assured and call him back. Ji Wuhua waved his hand. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please keep your love for me. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please keep your love for me. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4795. Just tell him that the person he wants to see is in the Feng family, and he will come back. Granny Feng glanced at Patriarch Feng. He nodded his head. Then she left. Yiqing Luo opened her eyes wide in confusion, acting God Emperor. Oh, by the way, I haven't told you. The acting Divine Emperor you want to see is your little uncle, Ji Wuhua said from the side. Little uncle. She suddenly had a little uncle who was the acting emperor god. His status had risen by a notch again. But, thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Feng Ge was her mother, the emperor of the former god emperor. The acting god emperor was also chosen from the Feng family. Naturally, he had a close relationship with the Feng family. Your uncle is always busy dealing with the affairs in the divine realm. He hasn't come back for hundreds of years. I am used to it. Master Feng sighed and suddenly thought of something. By the way, what did the Flower King say? The person he wanted to see. What did he mean? Yiqing Luo rushed to explain in front of Ji Wuhua. I came to God Realm because the acting God Emperor wanted to see me, so he specially sent the God Guardian Squad to the lower realm to fetch me. Otherwise, based on my strength, there's no way I can appear in God Realm. If Ji Wuhua were to explain, he was afraid that his mouth would spit out some nonsense that would cause people to misunderstand. He wants to see you. Patriarch Feng frowned. Why does he want to see you? Is it because he knows your identity, so he asked you to come to the divine realm to verify your identity? Well, I am not sure. Yiqing Luo shook her head. She hadn't seen the acting god emperor yet. She didn't know why the acting god emperor wanted to see her. Patriarch Feng looked at Ji Wuhua. She came from the 100-Flower Garden. Did the acting god emperor order you to put her in the 100-Flower Garden? The acting god emperor didn't say anything. He just asked the divine guard team to let me arrange a place for her. Ji Wuhua touched his palms with the back of his hands, looking as if he was racking his brains to think for her sake. She is a person from the lower realm. If those old fools find out that she has come to the immortal realm, won't they tear her apart? No matter how I look at it, the 100-Flower Garden is the safest. Who would suspect her origins if she was placed in the 100-Flower Gardens? Feng Clan Master. This reason is really irrefutable. The acting Divine Emperor has some matters to deal with recently. Patriarch, don't worry. Feng Zhangqing comforted her gently. The acting Divine Emperor will come to meet Miss Yi after he finishes his business. Business, business, business. Might as well just let him live with his work. What does he need us relatives for? Feng Clan Master spat fiercely. He is your master. You go and tell him that if he doesn't return to the Feng mansion within today, he will be punished. He doesn't need to come back anymore. Feng Zhangqing still wanted to say something. Feng Clan Master glared at him angrily. He slapped the table and stood up. Let's go to the 5 great aristocrats. I want to question them. They kidnapped my Feng family's granddaughter. Are they trying to rebel? Grandfather, Yiqing Luo hurriedly held onto his arm as she spoke in a gentle voice. They don't know my identity, and if we were to go over rashly, it would only raise their vigilance. Moreover, how are you going to explain my identity to them? The Feng family was, after all, the legitimate bloodline of the royal family. It was also the family of the destined divine emperor. No matter what it was, it would receive great attention. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love. The Book C Pavilion is the fastest to update. Chapter 4796. A Feng family's granddaughter suddenly popped out. The daughter of the former divine emperor. Who would believe that? There would be people who would doubt the purpose of the Feng family. Therefore, they wanted her to restore the identity of the Feng family's granddaughter, the biological daughter of the former divine emperor. There must be an appropriate time. Obviously, it would not be now. Yiqing Luo could think of it. Feng family patriarch could naturally think of it. His old face sank, clenching his fists unwillingly. Are we going to let it go like this? He, the dignified Feng family's patriarch, couldn't even bully his own granddaughter back. Did he still have the face to be her grandfather? We can first inquire about the news about those 5 people to determine if they are really dead. Yiqing Luo smiled and held Feng family patriarch's arm, helping him to sit down again. If those 5 people are really dead, there is no need for us to go again. Feng family patriarch nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, you are thoughtful. He snapped his fingers. Soon, 2 secret guards appeared. Feng family patriarch arranged things. All right, grandfather, since I was kidnapped last night, you haven't had a rest, I will accompany you to rest for half an hour. Yiqing Luo didn't give Feng family patriarch a chance to refuse, her long eyes curved and her smile was bright. I will accompany you to rest, I am a little tired too. Feng family patriarch originally wanted to chat with her for a while. Hearing the latter half of her sentence, he immediately dispelled the idea. He quickly got up. Yes, you were kidnapped last night, you must have not had a good rest until now, grandfather will go to rest with you. One old and one young, holding each other, walked towards the direction of the bedroom. Bloodbone Barbarian King's face was cold, staring at Yiqing Luo and Feng family patriarch's back without blinking. His eyes were deep like a whirlpool, surging wave after wave of waves. A hand was put on his shoulder. Bloodbone Barbarian King's face turned cold, and he suddenly buckled the wrist behind him. Immediately, he buckled the wrist behind him. Ayaya, Bone Lord, don't be so rough. A frivolous voice, with a bit of artificial pain. Ji Wuhua nimbly withdrew his hand and dodged the barbaric Bloodbone King's attack. Did you think of the former Divine Emperor when you saw Miss Ye's back? Ji Wuhua looked as if he had seen through the truth. He reached out his hand to hook the barbaric Blood King's shoulder. The barbaric Bloodbone King glanced at him coldly. Ji Wuhua withdrew his hand resentfully. Don't be so fierce. I just want to know some gossip. He paused and carefully observed the barbaric Bloodbone King's expression. Seeing that the cold face was emotionless, he plucked up his courage and asked, rumor has it that Bone Lord died in the hands of the former Divine Emperor. Why is he with Missy now? As he guessed, he couldn't help but fill in the blanks in his mind. Could it be that your death back then, your soul dispersing and your ashes were all fake? In fact, the former Divine Emperor wanted you to be Miss Ye's father, right? The barbaric Bloodbone King coldly glanced at him. Following that, he walked towards the direction which Yiqing Luo had left with an expressionless face. Ji Wuhua didn't get an answer and hurriedly chased after him. Bone Lord, what do you mean by that look? You haven't answered my question, don't go. Wuhua. Feng Zhangqing held on to Ji Wuhua with a slight headache. Stop fooling around, Bone Lord is in a bad mood. Now on account that this is the Feng family, I won't haggle with you. If you annoy Bone Lord, even if you and I join hands, we won't be his opponent. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please keep your love away. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please keep your love away. The Sea of Books Pavilion is the fastest to update. Chapter 4797. So powerful. Ji Wuhua's eyes lit up, that makes me want to fight with him even more. Feng Zhangqing. Fine, if you are beaten to death, I will not stop you. Ji Wuhua, no. You have to stop me symbolically, to give me a way out. Feng Zhangqing had long been accustomed to his friend's reckless behavior. He waved Ji Wuhua away. I will go to the acting god emperor first and bring the patriarch's words. If you want to stay in the Feng family, be careful and don't talk nonsense. He looked around and lowered his voice. Bone Lord is not to be offended. That Miss Yi, you should also be careful, jokes are jokes, but there is a limit. Alright, know, don't be like an old mother. Ji Wuhua waved his hand impatiently. Yiqing Luo and Patriarch Feng went to Patriarch Feng's room together. Yiqing Luo sat on the soft chair beside the bed, leaning against the headboard and closed her eyes slightly. One hand was still holding her grandfather's hand. Patriarch Feng originally didn't want Yiqing Luo to work so hard and sleep sitting like this. But he was worried about leaving Yiqing Luo alone in the room. After what happened last night, Yiqing Luo tried every means to persuade Patriarch Feng before he agreed. Even if Patriarch Feng was strong, but his age was after all old. After a tiring night until now, he was indeed tired. But perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo was by his side. The hands that held each other conveyed the warmth of both sides. About the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. Then Patriarch Feng fell into a deep sleep. Yiqing Luo waited for a while. After confirming that Patriarch Feng had fallen asleep, then she carefully pulled out her hand. She walked out of Patriarch Feng's room looking back 3 times. Just as she reached the door, she saw Bloodbone Barbarian King standing outside. She greeted him with a smile. "Aren't you going to rest?" "No need." His face was cold. "Are you sure to stay in the Feng family?" Yiqing Luo glanced at the closed door. She smiled and shook her head. Shortly after, he strode forward. Bloodbone Barbarian King followed closely. "Grandpa has been alone for so long. He finally met me. I may not leave the Feng family in a short time." She smiled. "However, I shouldn't stay here for a long time. This is his mother's home. She wanted to stay here and accompany her grandfather. He also wanted to see this place where his mother grew up. But she also has her mission to complete. Her brothers and sisters in the lower realm were still waiting for her to return. It was impossible to stay here and live a comfortable life protected by the Feng family. You should be very familiar with this place, right?" Yiqing Luo suddenly turned her head and looked at Bloodbone Barbaric King, Mother's childhood sweetheart. He must be very familiar with the place where Mother grew up. A glimmer of light flashed across the barbaric Bloodbone King's calm eyes. An awkward expression flashed across his face. Yiqing Luo caught it and the smile in her eyes deepened. "I don't know anything about the Feng Manor at all. Can you bring me around to take a look around, the places where Mother had stayed in the past, and the things that Mother had done?" The barbaric Bloodbone King wanted to refuse. But when he met the young girl's smiling eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. Like thousands of flowers blooming. The words of refusal were at the tip of his tongue, but he couldn't say it out. He sighed softly and finally spat out a word, "All right." Bloodbone Barbarian King's understanding of Feng Gu was already deep in his bones. Even if thousands of years had passed, he still remembered everything about Feng Gu clearly. Not a single bit, not missing out. As if it was just something that happened yesterday. "Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love." The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4798. One action. One sentence. She remembered it clearly. Bloodbone Savage King was no longer in his bashful state. In the end, he fell into the past. Yiqing Luo listened very seriously. He seemed to be able to imagine the scene at that time from the words of the barbaric Bloodbone King. It was like she was one step closer to her mother. Just like that, 4 hours had passed. The sky gradually darkened. Yiqing Luo asked Bloodbone Savage King to bring her to the kitchen. Granny Feng had not returned yet. Other than the secret guards in the Feng Manor, there wasn't even a servant who could handle things. Yiqing Luo also wanted to take this opportunity to cook a meal for her grandfather. Bloodbone Savage King had no intention to stop her. When Patriarch Feng woke up, he followed the secret guards and found his way to the kitchen. He saw the barbaric Bloodbone King leaned against the door of the kitchen with his arms crossed in front of his chest. His deep eyes stared unblinkingly at the young girl who was busy in the kitchen. That serious and deep look. Patriarch Feng felt that he was looking at another person through the young lady. He sighed faintly. That daughter of his was too stubborn. If she had chosen Bone Lord at that time, presumably, their family could still live happily. Unfortunately, there was no if. This sigh attracted the attention of the man outside the door. When Bloodbone Savage King looked over, Patriarch Feng immediately made a hush gesture and shook his head at him. Bloodbone Savage King didn't say anything. He slowly moved away a little. Hence, the kitchen became, Bloodbone Savage King stood on one side and Patriarch Feng stood on the other, looking at the young lady who was busy in the kitchen. Both of their gazes were kind and gentle. This house finally had the taste of home. Another half an hour had passed. Feng Shi followed the fragrance and came over. Yiqing Luo then noticed that there were two door gods squatting outside the door. Her eyes were filled with joy. She took off her robe and washed her hands. You came just in time. Help me send the dishes to the hall and get ready for dinner. Saying that, she bent over to carry Feng Shi in her arms and walked out of the kitchen. The two men naturally had no objections. Yiqing Luo carried Feng Shi in her arms and sat down in the main hall to wait. She didn't cook a lot of food, but it wasn't little either. When the family was seated around the table, a hearty voice came from outside the door. What's this smell? It's so fragrant. Looks like I came back at the right time. Then, a few figures walked in. The person in the lead was dressed in a bright yellow brocade robe and had an imposing appearance. When he strode over, he brought with him an invisible pressure. His footsteps were like the wind. One look and you could tell that he had the aura of a superior. Yiqing Luo's vision fell onto that person's face. He had good facial features and was extraordinarily handsome. That face, he looked really familiar. He could see that she bore some resemblance to his mother. This person, he should be her mother's younger brother, her little uncle, the current acting divine emperor, Feng Liqiong. When Feng Liqiong's vision met Yiqing Luo's, his pupils shrank and the smile on his face froze. Sis. Sis. Following that, he seemed to have reacted as he patted the back of his hand hard. No, this is my niece, Qing Luo. He walked over quickly as his eyes gazed deeply at the young lady with unconcealable joy. Feng Liqiong had just reached in front of Yiqing Luo and was about to reach out to hug her. But she was stopped by Patriarch Feng's outstretched hand. Don't scare the child. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4799. Immediately, Feng family's patriarch looked towards Yiqing Luo. This is your little uncle who doesn't stay at home. Although he is the acting god emperor, he has a bad temper. It doesn't matter if he is here or not. If you don't want to call him uncle, then don't. This was the official ridicule from her grandfather. Feng Liqiong immediately objected, Father, that's not nice of you. She is my niece, so she has to call me little uncle. He smiled widely and opened his arms towards Yiqing Luo. I've been waiting for you, my niece, for too long. Be a good girl, call me little uncle. Feng family's patriarch slapped his arm away. You know you're back to see your niece, but you don't even know to prepare a gift. Is there any uncle like you? You still have the cheek to let the child call you. Of course I have prepared. Feng Liqiong's fingers shook. A piece of jade appeared in his palm. The translucent white jade shone with a profound light that flickered like lightning. Sound transmission stone. Ji Wuhua cried out exaggeratedly, the acting god emperor really dotes on this niece of yours. He actually gave his sound transmission stone to her. Yiqing Luo stared at that piece of jade, her eyes narrowed slightly, not knowing what she was thinking. Feng family's patriarch immediately touched her. Take it, it's rare to get something from him. Yiqing Luo reached out and took the jade. The jade was cool like water in her hand. It felt good, smooth and delicate. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose as she smiled at Feng Liqiong. Thank you, little uncle. The door opened wide. The moonlight shone like water. Shone on the young lady's gorgeous face. The young lady's brows were curved, her long and narrow eyes were also curved. It was obvious that she was very happy. That face was imprinted in Feng Liqiong's eyes. Made him momentarily, he recalled the calm and indifferent face in his memory. Really, very similar. Why are you in a daze? Didn't you hear Qing Luo calling you? Feng family's patriarch slapped Feng Liqiong's shoulder. Feng Liqiong suddenly regained her senses and quickly smiled. I'm just too happy. I've waited for so long to hear you call me little uncle, and now I finally hear it. Feng clan master glanced at him. Find a place to sit. As he sat down, he was still nagging discontentedly. Qing Luo had specially prepared a meal for me alone, but you've come at the right time, to be able to eat the meal personally cooked by Qing Luo. Feng Liqiong's eyes lit up. My niece made it herself. I must have a good taste. He laughed heartily as he sat down. Feng Zhangqing and Ji Wuhua, who followed behind him, also took their seats. Yiqing Luo slowly sat down as her gaze fell onto the voice transmission stone in her palm. She gently touched the sound transmission stone with her slender and fair fingertips. That lightning-like profound light dispersed like water ripples. It was very magical. This voice transmission stone is your little uncle's voice transmission stone, which means, no matter where you are in the god realm, as long as you shout, little uncle, into the voice transmission stone, he will be able to know your location and you can contact him anytime. Feng family's patriarch saw her loving look and explained, in future, if you have any problems, look for your little uncle. After all, he's an acting god emperor. If you meet with any danger in the god realm, ask your little uncle to rush over to protect you. Father, I'm an acting god emperor. There are so many things waiting for me to settle, how can you let me be at your beck and call? Feng Liqiong immediately shouted out. But his tone suddenly changed as a pair of narrow phoenix eyes looked at Yiqing Luo with a smile. Trashy seventh young mistress, Lord Dizun, please collect your love. Trashy seventh young mistress, Lord Dizun, please collect your love. Chapter 4800. But, on account of my cute and charming little niece, I will reluctantly agree. Feng family patriarch raised his hand and slowly put it down. From their interaction, Yiqing Luo could tell. Their relationship was actually very good. Even if they rarely met. Even if Feng Liqiong was busy with work. But the interaction between the two of them. It was very intimate. It was totally different from before when Feng family patriarch talked about the acting god emperor, his tone was impatient. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes were rippling with a faint light. Her vision was fixed on Feng family patriarch for a moment. Immediately, her pink lips curled up with a bright smile. Thank you, uncle, I will take good care of your gift and carry it with me. Feng Liqiong smiled lightly, as long as Qing Luo likes it. Come and try the dishes that Qing Luo personally made. Feng family patriarch looked at the table full of dishes and felt a little hungry. He picked up the bamboo chopsticks and picked some food. The moment it entered his mouth, his face revealed a surprised look. Qing Luo, your culinary skills are amazing. The dishes that Yi Qing Luo made were all common home dishes in the lower realm. Ordinary ingredients. But the food that she made was completely extraordinary. In addition, the ingredients in the god realm were nourished by the heaven and earth's spiritual qi. The food that she made was even more fragrant and delicious. Feng family patriarch's voice just fell. The others immediately raised their bamboo chopsticks and began to sweep. This meal was very enjoyable. The entire hall was filled with laughter and cheers. It was very pleasant. Yi Qing Luo looked at the scene in front of her, the tenderness between her brows deepened. It wasn't that she hadn't eaten such a joyous meal before. But, for the first time, she sat at the same table with her own relatives, eating together harmoniously. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes slightly, concentrating on the cold jade in her palm. Her vision slowly fell onto Feng Liqiong. Her slender fingers curled up one by one, holding the jade in her palm. The smile at the corner of his mouth deepened a little. Qing Luo keeps staring at me, don't you think that your uncle is very handsome? Feng Liqiong noticed Yi Qing Luo's gaze and looked at her. Yi Qing Luo nodded, yes, little uncle and mother are quite similar. Feng Liqiong laughed heartily. In terms of resemblance, you're the real one. You're practically carved from the same mold as my sister. Yi Qing Luo curved her charming eyes, then the relationship between little uncle and mother must be very good? Of course. Feng Liqiong put down her chopsticks. I've been by Big Sister's side since I was young. Big Sister taught me how to cultivate, taught me how to be a person, taught me everything. He laughed and laughed. He seemed to have sunk into his memories. That pair of long and narrow almond-shaped eyes seemed a little empty and unfocused. If it wasn't for that time. Big Sister. She wouldn't have, Feng Liqiong murmured softly. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Patriarch Feng sternly. What nonsense are you talking in front of the child? Let's eat. Feng Liqiong seemed to suddenly come back to her senses. She rubbed her face and laughed, I'm babbling nonsense again. His gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo. His deep gaze congealed on her for some time. His smile gradually faded as he solemnly said, if it wasn't for Big Sister, there wouldn't be the current me. Your mother is an amazing, amazing Big Sister. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were gentle and the smile on her pink lips was as tender as warm water. She looked at Feng Liqiong and nodded her head vigorously. I believe that mother will be an amazing mother. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love gently. Chapter 4801. After the meal. Granny Feng removed the things on the table. Yi Qing Luo wanted to help. Little miss can help take care of young master, I'll take care of these. Granny Feng handed Feng Shi over to Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo, come here. Feng family patriarch waved to her. Yi Qing Luo had no choice but to carry Feng Shi to sit beside Feng family patriarch. Your uncle is here now, just tell him whatever grievances you have suffered, he will definitely seek justice for you. Feng family patriarch glanced at Feng Liqiong who was sitting by the side. He hinted Yi Qing Luo to tell Feng Liqiong about the kidnapping last night. Yi Qing Luo knew. Actually, this was her grandfather's intention to let her and Feng Liqiong interact more, so that they could nurture their relationship. But before Yi Qing Luo could speak, Feng Liqiong was the first to speak as he looked at Feng family patriarch. Father, it's not peaceful outside recently. Qing Luo has just returned to the Feng family. Take Qing Luo and stay in the Feng family, don't go out for now. His expression was somewhat solemn. Let's not talk about Qing Luo's identity, we haven't found a suitable opportunity to reveal it to the public. The most important thing is, there might be some dark forces eyeing the God realm. Feng family patriarch's expression changed slightly. What happened? The important members of the 5 aristocratic families were attacked at the same time. Feng Liqiong placed one hand on the table with a solemn expression. Not only that, the 5 corpses are hung at the entrance of the 5 aristocratic families' mansions. Feng family patriarch frowned. He turned his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Their gazes met for a moment. They had already guessed it, those 5 people were probably the ones who kidnapped Yi Qing Luo last night. Indeed, they were dead. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyelids slightly, concealing the deep meaning in her eyes. I've been busy with this matter today. To be able to kill the important members of the 5 aristocratic families at the same time, and to hang the corpses so arrogantly, this is obviously provoking the 5 aristocratic families, provoking me, the acting god emperor. Feng Liqiong's hand on the table tightened. I'm afraid the other party's power has already infiltrated the god realm. I haven't found any useful clues yet. So, you have to be careful. Especially Qing Luo, you've just arrived in the god realm, so don't simply sneak out. The people outside are not like you in the lower realm, understand? Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she met Feng Liqiong's eyes with a smile. Amen, I won't. She paused for a moment before continuing. You said. I can provide you with some information about the other party's forces. What? Feng Liqiong asked immediately. Yi Qing Luo maintained her smile. The 5 people who killed the 5 aristocratic families were not done by a single force, but one person. Alone? Feng Liqiong frowned. How could one person kill 5 important members of the 5 great clans? It's true, I saw it with my own eyes. Yi Qing Luo replied seriously. With your own eyes? Feng Liqiong's eyes darkened. Then did you see who that person was? Yi Qing Luo sighed softly and shook her head. That person was wearing a black robe and I couldn't even see his eyes. Then, do you have a way to identify that person? Feng Liqiong asked. That person was wearing a loose black robe, I couldn't see the other party's body shape. His voice was also modified by profound energy. Even if that person was standing in front of me, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to recognize him. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips and said apologetically, I'm sorry, uncle, I can't help you. Think carefully again. Feng Liqiong hadn't finished his words. Feng family's matriarch gave him a slap on the head. 7th young miss who likes trash. Lord Overlord, please be gentle with your love. 7th young miss who likes trash. Lord Overlord, please be gentle with your love. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4802. Didn't you hear Qing Luo say she couldn't recognize him? Still keep asking. Feng Liqiong stared at him in annoyance. As her uncle, don't you know how to care about her? Feng Liqiong touched the back of his head and gave up asking, looking at Yi Qing Luo embarrassedly. Qing Luo, I'm sorry, I'm too anxious. Yi Qing Luo smiled innocently. It's all right. But little uncle, why aren't you curious about how I know that person? Uncle is muddled from work, thinking of solving the problem of the 5 aristocrats, too anxious. Feng Liqiong softened his tone. It's my fault, I didn't care about you. He lowered his head apologetically and asked with concern, Qing Luo, how did you meet that person? Because I was with the 5 dead people from the 5 aristocrats last night. Yi Qing Luo's fingertips touched her chin. I saw that black-robed man kill those 5 people with my own eyes. With your own eyes? Feng Liqiong immediately grabbed Yi Qing Luo's hand and sized her up. Are you all right? You saw it with your own eyes. why didn't that black-robed man hurt you? Perhaps it's because I have something on me that the other party wants. Yiqing Luo allowed Feng Liqiong to hold her wrist. They seemed to want to find out from me the whereabouts of the Feng family's treasure. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips slightly. How would I know anything about the Feng family's treasure? She paused and didn't give the others a chance to speak. She continued, oh right, little uncle, did you already know my identity? That's why you sent the Divine Guardian Squad to the lower realm to find me. This topic had changed a little too quickly. Feng Liqiong was stunned for a moment and immediately nodded. Not really, but I have some suspicions. So I wanted to get someone to bring you up to see. He looked at Feng Liqiong. Father has been looking for you for a long time, but I had never expected you to be in the lower realm. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes. Her eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Won't uncle suspect my identity? You and grandfather don't seem to need me to verify my identity, and you already believe me. That look seemed to be very touched. Feng Liqiong held Yiqing Luo's hand with heartache. How can grandfather recognize the wrong person? You are Feng Ji's daughter, my granddaughter. That's right. Your face says it all. Feng Liqiong's eyes were warm and gentle, and a kind smile hung on her face. You don't let your imagination run wild. If you're really worried, you can wait for a while and find an opportunity to reveal your identity to the God realm, and then verify it in front of everyone. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered, seemingly a little nervous. But I'm not from the God realm. They won't accept me. You are the granddaughter of my Feng family, who dares to not accept you? Let the acting God Emperor chop off their heads. Feng family's matriarch interrupted Yiqing Luo's words. Feng Liqiong said helplessly, Father, I'm not a tyrant. How can I behead someone just because you say so? Just find a random reason. What rebellion? What forbidden techniques? Find any reason. Feng clan master was unreasonable. Feng Liqiong knew her father's character very well, and she nodded repeatedly, yes, 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 whoever dares to deny our little princess will be beheaded. Yiqing Luo held the old man's arm and leaned her head on his shoulder. Grandfather treats me the best. The old man chuckled as he stroked her soft black hair that was not tied up. His eyes were filled with a kind and gentle smile. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4803. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as she casually looked towards Feng Liqiong and asked, Little uncle, is it only the few of you who know about the news that you sent someone to fetch me back? Feng Liqiong, Ji Wuhua and Feng Changqing. Feng Liqiong nodded, yes, what's wrong? Yiqing Luo bit her pink lips in doubt, since no one knows my identity. Why are the 5 people from the 5 aristocrats so sure that I know the Feng family's treasure? Yiqing Luo asked. The entire hall fell into silence. After a while, Feng Liqiong frowned. You mean someone knows your identity? I don't know. Yiqing Luo shook her head. Uncle, this matter. You must investigate clearly. This is not only related to my personal safety, but also the entire Feng family. She rubbed her head against Feng family's matriarch. I don't want to bring disaster to the Feng family not long after I returned. Feng family's matriarch was distressed. How can you be a disaster to the Feng family? You are grandfather's treasure. Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile. So, uncle must find out the other party's purpose as soon as possible. If you need my help, I will not hesitate. Don't worry. Feng Liqiong clenched her fists. Whoever dares to touch the Feng family, Feng Liqiong will be the first to disagree. Leave this matter to me. The people from the 5 aristocrats dare to kidnap Qing Luo and the Feng family. It means that this Feng family must have hidden a lot of informers from the 5 aristocrats. Feng family's matriarch looked at Feng Liqiong. As an uncle, you should know how to help your niece vent her anger, right? Feng Liqiong's eyes narrowed dangerously. The 5 aristocrats dare to touch my head. I naturally will not let them off easily. Feng Liqiong got the news and left in a hurry. Feng Changqing and Ji Wuhua also followed and left. Yiqing Luo accompanied Feng family's matriarch for a walk, until the sky turned completely dark. Then she helped Feng family's matriarch back to the room to rest. Feng family's matriarch was worried that last night's incident would happen again. Yiqing Luo pushed Bloodbone Barbarian King in front of her. Uncle Bone is here, he will protect me. Feng family's matriarch stared at Bloodbone Barbarian King for a while and finally sighed. There was a tinge of regret in his tone. No one knew what he was feeling regretful about. After Master Feng fell asleep, Yiqing Luo then headed towards her own room. The barbaric Bloodbone King followed closely behind. His eyes were dark as he stared at the girl's back. Just now, were you hinting at something? Yiqing Luo felt a little strange on the dining table, as well as the casual conversation afterwards. However, he could not tell what was so strange about it. Somehow he felt that the smile on Yiqing Luo's face looked pure, but it wasn't pure. It was unlike the heartfelt smile on his face when he faced the Feng family's patriarch. Yiqing Luo tilted her head. Under the night sky, the young girl's beautiful face seemed to be plated with a layer of silver radiance. Uncle Bone really understands me. Yiqing Luo didn't deny it as she curved her charming eyes. Uncle Bone, do you have a way to set up a barrier with only the 2 of us? The barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes flickered. Without anyone noticing, he scanned his surroundings with the corner of his eyes. Then, he nodded. The next day, Yiqing Luo woke up early in the morning and headed to the kitchen to help Grandma Feng prepare breakfast. The atmosphere was harmonious. While Yiqing Luo was busy with the things in her hands, she asked, Grandma Feng, how long have you been in the Feng family? I have been in the Feng family since young. Grandma Feng smiled. Once upon a time, your mother was also taken care of by me. 7th young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love. 7th young miss who likes trash, Overlord, please collect your love. The Sea of Books Pavilion updates the fastest. Chapter 4804. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up and hurried to Granny Feng's side. Granny Feng took care of grandfather and mother, and now she takes care of me and Cici. Her smile deepened. In our eyes, Granny Feng is our family. Granny Feng's eyes were filled with a layer of moisture. She was very happy in her heart, but remembered her identity as a servant. You can't do that, young miss, please don't say that. If the Lord hears it, I will be punished. If grandfather hears it, he will agree with what I said. Yiqing Luo put her arms around Granny Feng's waist. Granny Feng was overjoyed and her face was full of smiles. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to say, Granny Feng, I want to know more about the Feng family, about grandfather, uncle, and mother. I want to integrate into the Feng family faster, can you tell me? Of course, no problem. Granny Feng smiled. Granny will tell you what you want to know. Yiqing Luo tilted her head. I want to know about grandfather, mother, and uncle. The Feng family has always been an enviable big family. Granny Feng's movement slowed down as she fell into memories. Among the big families that fight openly and secretly, the Feng family is like an exception. The Feng family has always been monogamous. There are no concubines fighting for the family property. After the former emperor and the acting emperor were born, they grew up in the love of the lord and madam. The relationship between the former emperor and the acting emperor has always been very good, supporting and accompanying each other. until they grew up. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. Is the relationship between uncle and mother so good? Because Madam passed away early, and the Lord is a man after all, not so meticulous. The former emperor has always been taking care of the acting emperor like an elder sister and mother. Naturally, the relationship between the siblings is so deep that no one can destroy it. Yiqing Luo continued with a smile, I will also take good care of Cece like mother and uncle. Granny Feng was amused. Yiqing Luo asked again, then, what happened later? Why did uncle say that if it wasn't something, grandfather didn't allow him to say it? Granny Feng's smile froze on her face. She hurriedly shook her head. Little miss, it's not that this old servant doesn't want to tell you, but this matter has happened too long ago. Master also doesn't want you to be sad about the past. She paused and reminded, little miss, in front of the patriarch, it's better not to mention anything about that matter. Yiqing Luo nodded obediently and changed the topic, then I'll ask. The relationship between grandfather and uncle. While helping Granny Feng, she said, at first, when I heard Grandpa so fiercely asking little uncle to return to the Feng family, I thought that Grandpa and little uncle had a bad relationship. But when little uncle came back, Grandpa obviously doted on little uncle. The patriarch and the acting god emperor have always interacted like this. Granny Feng chuckled. The acting divine emperor is a very serious person. After he took over the position of acting divine emperor, he has been working hard to support the entire divine realm. So, the acting divine emperor is often busy dealing with the affairs of the god realm and neglects the patriarch. The patriarch is angry and distressed. Every time he sends someone to invite the acting divine emperor back home, the acting divine emperor always has something to do. This is the first time the acting divine emperor has returned to the Feng family in hundreds of years. The correct chapter of Wei's 7th Miss, Overlord, Be Gentle with Your Love, will continue to be updated in the Sea of Books Pavilion. There are no advertisements in the website, so please collect and recommend the Sea of Books Pavilion. Wei's 7th Miss, Overlord, Be Gentle with Your Love, Wei's 7th Miss, Overlord, Be Gentle with Your Love. The Sea of Books Pavilion is the fastest to update. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.